Yep, apologize about that if we did reconnect from your stream. It appears to be good. Let us know in the chat. Make sure you can hear us and see us to make sure we are good. Might have had just a little bit of a glitch in the software there, but let us know if you can hear us. Let us know in the chat there below. All right, looks like we're good, Ryan.
Yeah, it looks like we're good
Getting
too.
a good response there.
Yep. We have an MCD coming in, which is a mesoscale discussion, which is indicating we have a watch likely probability of issuance is 95%, Caleb. Let's go ahead and talk about that. We'll let it load in on our screens here. We'll talk about that in just a few minutes. It's going to take some time for it to pop on our screens, but I do have the data here. I can go over with you guys and kind of verbalize it. Load it up here.
Yep, and this will likely be across southern Indiana.
Yep.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I'm trying to load it in. It just says watch probability is 95%. Looks like all hazards are being mentioned. It says Western Kentucky, Southern Illinois, far southwest Indiana, and far southeast Missouri. So perhaps the Evansville area is going to be included in this watch. I'm still waiting on the exact area mentioned. I'm waiting for the data to load. So bear with us here. We'll have it load in here. We'll talk about it and show you guys the areas in just a few minutes. There it is. So it's going to include Vincennes, Jasper, Corydon, and Evansville areas. So very far southwest Indiana here. I'll go ahead and take back my screen. There we go. We're going to draw it very essentially what they have here. It kind of goes north of Vincennes, down here to Jasper, down toward Corydon, and then kind of back this way. So these counties are being monitored for a potential, likely, more than likely tornado watch here in the next couple of minutes. The text of it says there is a watch likely damaging winds and embedded tornadoes are possible across blah 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 far southwest Indiana. A watch will be needed soon. Is the verbiage there? Says a line of storms of several Boeing segments is ongoing across southeast Missouri. Instability has waned, but low-level buoyancy exists per mesoanalysis, which is your real-time data. Talks about the wind shear. Talks about a lot about technical stuff here. Says some tornado threat is apparent. Additionally, basically saying that they have good inflow to these storms as well as a wind threat accompanying. So it looks like they're going to get a tornado watch at very least here in the next couple of minutes here for southwest Indiana. Based on the discussion that they just issued, be Posey, Vandenberg, Warwick, Spencer, Perry, Crawford, Dubois, Pike, Gibson, Knox, Davies, Martin, maybe Orange County as well. Those counties would likely be included or at least close to a watch if one is issued here. I would expect one to be issued momentarily as well. New special weather statement coming in here from Indianapolis. Winds to 40 and pea-sized hail. We'll go ahead and talk about that in just a minute. Wait for it to pop on the screen here. I'm assuming it's going to be on this side of the...
Yep, right along the I-65 corridor is where that is, stretching from Greenwood just north of the Columbus, Indiana area. Perfect. Yep, Ryan's got it now on his screen.
I can take it back if you want me to, Caleb.
Yeah, it's up to you. I have the same exact thing.
I'll leave it up to you here. I'm almost done with this list here, so I'm going to get this complete.
All good. Go ahead. While Ryan's doing that, he's got some things on the back end to work about here. You can see the gust front stretching from Beech Grove, on the southeast side of Indianapolis, stretching all the way down to the Nineveh area, just to the northwest of Columbus, Indiana, crossing the I-65 corridor there, where you see those reds. Reds are winds away from the radar, and greens are winds blowing towards the radar. So out ahead of it, winds are back a little bit out of the east-southeast, but as the storm is moving through, the winds reverse associated with that, getting our bright red returns here. So again, not severe, but nonetheless a strong thunderstorm, winds in excess of 40 miles an hour, and pea-sized hail associated with this as well. So could have a few small hailstones in here as well. This is going to move towards the Shelbyville area, Greensburg area, US 52 area, and the Rushville area as well. Again, this storm not moving overly fast, moving east at 40 miles an hour. So I have to see how it holds in intensity by the time it gets to the Rushville area. But subsevere, but a strong thunderstorm, again, 40 miles an hour, is enough to blow your trash can across the road. Remember, Fred doesn't want to pick up your trash can, so if it is loose or empty, go ahead and pick that up, tie that down, and make sure it does not blow into Fred's yard, just as a common courtesy. Storms of greatest concern right now are in southern Illinois. I'm going to be approaching the Evansville area, Vincennes area here closely within the hour. You can see a severe thunderstorm warning does include counties up to the state line now. Near the Shawnee town, Camry, Illinois, right on the edge of the box here. This one is for 60-mile-per-hour winds, tornado possible, and penny-sized hail as the storm approaches the Illinois-Indiana border in extreme southwest lower Indiana from Princeton, Evansville, Boonville areas, as well as the Mount Vernon area in the boot of Indiana. So again, a very powerful storm here, and also a likely tornado watch coming for southwest lower Indiana within the next probably half an hour here, as well as these storms come. We'll have to see how far north they go, if they include Vincennes or Jasper. Have a couple different CWAs down here with Paducah for extreme southeast or southwest Indiana, and Indianapolis for points northward. So again, have to see how far that watch does extend. Areas northward, though, see some questions about areas, especially north of Indianapolis. Just rain. Again, really widespread stratiform rain occurring anywhere from Fort Wayne over to Logansport, Rensselaer, south of Gary, Indiana, with some steady rain around the Logansport area, Lafayette, Danville, Marion County, Indiana. Getting steady rain, maybe some lightning bolts in there, a few rumbles of thunder, but again, no severe weather is expected north of Indianapolis tonight. Generally south of the I-70 corridor is where we expect any storms, and even along the I-70 corridor, they'll be more sporadic in nature. We do have one special weather statement for sub-severe storms, 40-mile-per-hour winds, pea-sized hail, outside the Franklin, Indiana area. Something else to note of greater concern is a flash flood warning that is in effect for another 2 hours and 44 minutes for much of central Indiana. This is for Hendricks County, Johnson County, Marion, Morgan, Greene, Sullivan, Clay, Owen, Park County, Putnam County, and Vigo County in west central Indiana. Again, 1 to 2 inches of rain has fallen with an additional 1 to 3 inches possible. Flash flooding is expected to be ongoing or is expected to begin shortly. So if you guys are traveling along the I-70 corridor, again, watch out for ponding, flooded roadways, especially on rural and back roads, where reports of ditches and field overflow have been reported and occurring via storm spotter reports. Some basements are also starting to flood across central Indiana as well. Again, our soils are saturated. We can't hold the water, so it's got to go somewhere, and unfortunately it does spread out and go over the roadways. Again, nothing in Bloomington right now. See a question on Bloomington. Just some rain and thunderstorms right now. No severe weather for you at this moment. The greatest concern off to our south and west here. We'll likely see these warnings extended into southern Indiana within the next 30 minutes or so, as this pretty well mature, what we call a QLCS, quasi-linear convective system, moves into Indiana. And one could almost consider it, Orion, an MCS of sorts, a mesoscale convective system. And that's a big fancy weather term for a squall line that is not associated with a cold front. This is more of a boundary. But you can see this little back end hook here on the back end of the storm, how it kind of curves around to the back. That's some upper level spin associated with this storm. And what that can do, that can help extend the life cycle of those storms. And that's why it gets its name, mesoscale convective system, because it has that localized upper level low pressure associated with it.
And with that as well, Caleb, we can get embedded gustier winds and localized swaths, but also potential for a tornado. I'll go ahead and talk about that here just a second. Take back my radar here. So I'll first show you guys like the radar presentation here. It's a very pronounced bow echo we're looking at. It's kind of like a backwards bow, like a bow and arrow, right? You're shooting an arrow out this way, right? On the very top edge of these up here, we get that what we call a bookend vortex feature. We're going to zoom in. We're going to take a look at velocity. We're going to see the greens going outward this way and the reds going back this way. That's a little bit of rotation there associated with that upper level low pressure system. This is a very common thing we see with these systems. So that could be an area to watch for some rotation as well as some tornadic areas of interest, but also all along the leading edge of this line, gusty winds here. And that's why you see all these yellow boxes here for warnings. We have warnings down to the state line, Caleb.
Yep.
Or almost to the state line. Sorry, this is Kentucky. It's almost to the state line down here by Mount Vernon.
And you can also see how that line looks a little kinky on radar as well. That's that embedded areas of rotation or stronger winds embedded within that line as well. And just as Ryan was mentioning about that upper level spin that we have here associated with this bow echo, that can also enhance the spin up tornado risk along the leading edge as well. So again, all things to look about throughout the evening here. And that is also something the Storm Prediction Center in Norman, Oklahoma is watching very closely too, as they have issued what's called a mesoscale discussion, MCD, and that basically highlights an area of interest. In this case, 90% of a watch issuance here, meaning they're going to likely issue an extension into Indiana, whether that be a severe thunderstorm or a tornado watch, likely tornado watch that'll be moving into southern Indiana.
The text of that watch across Illinois says the storms are moving at roughly 40 miles per hour. I'm going to take my screen to a track on this to kind of get an idea to the state line areas. So it's moving pretty much northeast here, and we're going to go ahead and just leave it there. We're going to do a linear track on this. So we can go to linear mode on this. Let's go ahead and point. Actually, no, we got to turn it on first. There we go. Now we're good. Point, and then we're going to go out to about Evansville here. We're going to go 40 miles an hour. Let's go ahead and get some track on this. We're looking for Mount Vernon areas here. Let's see here. We're looking at, gotta find it. Mount Vernon and 55 minutes. So about 45 or so minutes to the state line. If it's moving at exactly 40 miles per hour, we're looking at this to arrive roughly around these time frames. I'll go ahead and track this out here for you so you can kind of see what I'm looking at here. Those are impact times here. We see Mount Vernon here, 54 minutes, Solitude in 55. Let's see if we can find Evansville on this. I do not see Evansville. Corridon in 72. Probably missed it somewhere. So many names on here. I don't see Evansville. If I missed it, I apologize. But between about 45 minutes to about an hour or so is where we're kind of expecting this to arrive there in the southwest corner of Indiana.
Yep, so again, the greatest hazards tonight, damaging winds, primary threat, followed by that risk of a spin-up tornado or two, primarily across southern Indiana. Think areas Bloomington and south have the greatest risk for severe weather, including tornadoes, over the next several hours here tonight. Between now and about 5 in the morning is the greatest risk for severe weather in southern Indiana. Once you go north of Indianapolis, again, the severe risk diminishes quite quickly, especially north of Fishers. Again, just rain is expected up there from Muncie, Marion, Logansport, up to Fort Wayne. No severe weather is expected up there. Maybe a few rumbles of thunder cannot be ruled out as well. The greatest risk right now are those storms mentioned in southern Illinois, approaching the Mount Vernon, Indiana area, probably here within the next 30 minutes. And these storms aren't moving overly fast, moving east at 40 miles an hour, so that really brings an enhanced risk for flooding and flash flooding across the entire state of Indiana, especially central and southern Indiana, where those heavier rainfall rates are expected. Think US 24 endpoints southward have the greatest risk for flooding, primarily central and southern Indiana.
We'll also mention these warnings currently just off to the west of the state line all have possible tornado tags on them. So in addition to the main risk of 60 mile per hour winds, I don't see any large hail concerns, but there is potential there for a couple brief spin-up tornadoes. And if we zoom in there, just north of the Harrisburg area, for example, it's like an indentation apparently, or what appears to be one. Also for the north and the north side of that as well, near the zooming way in there toward Diana and Macedonia. That's Illinois areas. Caleb, I almost believe there's an outflow boundary. If you look at the Evansville area on your reflectivity and zoom in there, you can kind of see an outflow boundary. Yeah, you're looking at it. At least some
stretching right along the US 41 corridor there. Maybe a little bit of a gust front there. Yeah, right in here you can actually kind of see it. Maybe some gusty winds coming to Evansville. You can see it on reflectivity too.
All right, we have a tornado watch in effect now for Posey, Spencer, Vanderburgh, and Warwick counties until 5 a.m. Eastern, 4 a.m. Central Time.
I'll get that uploaded.
Okay. Wait for the graphic to get in there first.
That's what I'm doing.
Actually, it's already out. I can get IWO.
Okay.
So again, guys, tornado watch in effect for Posey, Spencer, Vanderburgh, and Warwick counties until 5 a.m. They did not include Vincennes or Jasper in that particular watch.
Yep, that would just be the NWS Paducah's CWA there.
So we'll see if they add them additionally in the future here, but as it stands, the bottom tier counties really, this tier county, only 4 counties included. 1, 2, 3, 4. My screen's not live. It will be here momentarily. There it is. That area, those counties are included in that warning. That's mainly because this bad-looking Boeing segment is pushing northeast. I'm kind of surprised it didn't go up to Vincennes, honestly, Caleb.
Yeah, I agree with you there. We might see a watch extension. Just depends on how far north. Again, that's the line segment that they are most concerned about for tornadoes, is the one that is currently warned. Again, that line segment that is moving into Vincennes right now is not severe, but it's the one to the south that has the better dynamics, better ingredients to work with, and that's the one of greatest concern for Indiana tonight. And this will be for spin-up tornadoes along the leading edge of the line. Damaging winds and spin-up tornadoes. You can see how the line here has a lot of kinks and nicks and crannies associated with the leading edge there. That is winds gusting out, but also being pulled in as well. And where you have those kinks, you can have some embedded, what we call mesovortices associated with the line. Those are areas that will have to be watched very closely for brief spin-up tornadoes. And as we've learned from the last several days here in Indiana, tornadoes can happen without a tornado warning within those severe thunderstorm warnings, that they can spin up quickly, sometimes without the radar knowing there's a tornado on the ground. Just as we saw in Adams County, Indiana, 2 tornadoes were on the ground simultaneously, but were not picked up by radar. So again, these things can spin up very quickly, oftentimes without warning. They're very shallow rooted as well. So anytime there's a severe thunderstorm warning, especially with a tornado possible tag on it, again, take it seriously in these situations. As tornadoes can spin up very quickly, they can be hard to detect, often rain-wrapped, and difficult to spot both on radar and in person. So again, interior room, lowest level of your home away from windows. So if you guys are in the Evansville area, Boonville area, Mount Vernon area, along the I-64 corridor, again, now's probably a pretty good time. Talk about your severe weather action plan. Talk about where you guys need to go, what you need to bring while you're there, and just be ready, just in case anything is issued across far southern Indiana. We like to talk about knowing, be prepared, and take action. Now is the time to monitor the situation and have an idea in place on what to do and where to go. That way, nobody is panicked when a warning is issued. You already know where to go, have a plan in place, and everyone automatically goes there. Going back north here again, special weather statement still in effect outside the Indianapolis area, Greenwood area. You can see that bowed arc there on the leading edge there in red. That is your gust front there. Again, sub-severe, probably maybe 30, 40 mile an hour winds is what the statement is for. I'm struggling to see 40 there on velocity. But pea-sized hail, 40 mile an hour winds, could have some loose objects blown around with this bow echo here. But it has appeared to be weakening a little bit on radar, which is good. Elsewhere across Indiana, I got some heavy thunderstorms across the I-74 corridor in southeast Indiana. Subsevere, heavy rain, lots of lightning with them. Up north, Newcastle, Fishers, Muncie, anywhere north of Indiana or Indianapolis, where you see these yellows here. This is just what we call stratiform rain. Heavy rain, nothing severe here. I'll take the radar full here to give you guys a better interpretation. So think north of the I-70 corridor. It's just rain for you guys. Rain, embedded thunder. This would be areas like Charleston, Fishers, Muncie, Bluffton, Decatur, Huntington, Fort Wayne, all the way over to Rensselaer. Again, just stratiform rain, moderate rain, maybe a few rumbles of thunder, but no severe weather is expected. That is not the case with extreme southern Indiana here, as our squall line is expected to move in here over the next, within the hour. I'd say we do have severe thunderstorm warnings almost to the state line here. Again, this does have a tornado possible tag on it. We have seen tornado warnings associated with this. We'll have to keep an eye on it going forward. Taking a look at our velocities here. And maybe some gusty winds coming into the Vincennes area. US 41 corridor, Sullivan area. Subsevere, maybe 25, 30 miles an hour associated with those. Heavy rain and lightning otherwise here. And we do have a flash flood warning extending from Indianapolis all the way to Terre Haute. Again, 1 to 2 inches of rain has already fallen. Reports of flooded roads, basements flooding, as well as excessive ponding with an additional 1 to 3 inches expected. So again, 3 to 5 inches total here before we're all said and done, and that is causing significant hydrologic issues on the roadways. So do take caution along the I-70 corridor in west central Indiana.
Yeah, that line down across the Harrisburg area, Illinois, is looking quite potent on the latest couple scans here. Very, very distinct gust front on that. Also very distinct little hail core within it too. Could get some decent sized hail there by Harrisburg all the way up to the county line there.
Let's go ahead and turn on our hail tracker here.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Why not? Go ahead and turn that on. Take a look at it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, really narrow swath, but a really potent swath of some hail there. Maybe some quarters there. Especially we see the blacks there embedded in the pink there on radar. Let's go ahead and use a tool called correlation coefficiency. This will help pick up our hail cores here within the line. Maybe distorted with clutter being a gust front, but we'll see what we can see here. And here's your gust front here, where you have those brighter returns. You can see the rain in between that, but where you have some yellows near the Harrisburg area up, there is some hail being indicated there on radar. You can kind of see the split there. El Dorado, like where you see those blues and really deep blacks there. That's your gust front on the leading edge, picking up dust particles, etc. But if you go back, you can see a layer there. You can see a band of reds here. That is raindrops. But you go a little bit further back here, right around that US 45 emblem there. That's some hail. So there is some hail falling here within this thunderstorm as well. So again, a very dangerous thunderstorm. Both with the risk, damaging winds, tornadoes, really all hazards associated with it here. And something to watch here are our kinks. You can kind of see that here on reflectivity, where it bows in, bows out. Those little kinks are areas of embedded broad rotation that we're going to have to keep an eye on here as it enters extreme southeast Indiana over the next hour. And really over the next probably 30 minutes now. We're probably about a half an hour out for these storms reaching the State Road 62 corridor, I-64 in Indiana.
Yeah, at this point, it's just a waiting game. I'm also looking at those storms up by Terre Haute, Sullivan, Jasonville area, all the way up to Indianapolis, Shelbyville, Franklin, Nashville, Bloomington. I don't really see much of anything impressive severe weather-wise, so right now it looks like a lot of heavy rain, maybe some gusty winds, 30 to 40 miles per hour. But for severe, the only thing that really intrigues me really would be down by Terre Haute, Sullivan area. It does have a bit of a gust front, but it's not overly potent. For me to be like, oh, watch this area. It's more so just like we'll watch it, but not too impressive yet.
No, heavy rain, thunder, going hazards with those showers and thunderstorms up there. Again, greatest risk is extreme southwest lower Indiana at this point in time. And a little courtesy for the chat there. Please do not say anything in all caps, please. That's just a little housekeeping rule that we have here for the chat. Please don't use anything in all uppercase.
So right now it's all quiet south of Bloomington as of this current moment. Jasper's quiet, Louisville's quiet, Seymour, Salem, Bedford, North Vernon, Lancaster, all quiet currently. That will likely change and will change as we get later on in the evening here. We have numerous thunderstorms incoming from the west. And Caleb, this Boeing segment is looking more and more impressive. Although I will say there's an outflow boundary coming off it now, which is good news for the most part. Outflow boundaries mean that these storms are no longer taking an inflow, which means it's mostly just outflow, windy, but they should start to be kind of weakening in nature, if I had to guess, Caleb. That's
Yeah,
usually
normally when you see that outflow boundary, it's usually a trend that they're starting to gust out. We have an extended shelf cloud moving, transitioning from a tornado risk to a damaging wind risk, which is good news. So hopefully that continues here. We have two outflow boundaries to look at. One moving through Evansville. That's associated with this first line of showers moving through, kind of a tail end gust front there. But you can see this little band here protruding out here as it plays just south of your warning box and into your warning box. That's an outflow boundary. Outflow boundaries are rain-cooled air pushing out ahead of the main line of thunderstorms, and that can also help choke off its fuel supply. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. Hopefully, that means it is weakening a little bit, but again, nonetheless, still a pretty potent cell to keep an eye on. And we have these cells to the south here to keep an eye on too, if they manage to work their way up into southern Indiana. Again, the northern half of this cell, though, Ryan, is still looking pretty healthy.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one.
Coming into the Camry area, US 45 and 141 towards the Mount Vernon area. El Dorado, Illinois, seeing some hail, 60-mile-per-hour winds right now. Actually, it is warned now for ping pong ball size hail, inch and a half. So they have upped that warning from quarters to ping pong balls. So pretty significant hail for a line.
No, I would agree. Caleb, do we have any traffic cams down there in southwest Indiana that could have a good view on the lightning? I will pull up
possibly.
I'll go ahead and
pull
pull
up your
up
radar and I'll take a look.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and pull up. We have a weather station down by Paducah that's facing west. This is Kentucky, but a lot of lightning out there with these storms. Again, that's not in Indiana. That's further south here toward Paducah, Kentucky, looking toward this line as it moves toward Paducah. The area of interest will be up here. As of right now, heading towards Shawneetown, Mount Vernon, New Harmony here over the next 20 to 30 minutes. Wouldn't be shocked to see our first warning down here very, very soon for Posey County. As this line is getting very close to that state line, the dark black line, the thick one, should I say. That is going to be the state line of Indiana. That storm is getting really close here, so I'd expect a warning to be issued very soon for, at the very least, Posey County.
Currently, it is warned for tornado possible, 60-mile-per-hour winds, and ping pong ball size hail, which are hailstones, inch and a half in diameter. So pretty large stones. A lot of the cameras are having difficulty loading at the moment.
Okay.
I have to go back to them here in a little bit.
report coming out of the Harrisburg area, which is down here with this purple indicating some hail there. We have a report says law enforcement confirmed nickel size hail, which is just below severe criteria, which is good news. I'm going to guess, Caleb, we're going to have a first warning here in about 5 or 10 minutes at most.
Yeah, if that. Probably be for the Posey County, Indiana area.
Yep.
Here pretty soon. Pretty strong winds right along US 45 near the Gossett, Illinois, Omaha area and Middle Point. Nice little pocket there of embedded winds. Maybe even a little bit stronger than 60 miles an hour there in that small isolated pocket. That is also associated with the hail core in the middle of the apex of that line there. So not surprised to see that. Again, storm motions aren't overly fast here tonight. Again, if these storms were moving as fast as what they were the other night, we'd likely already have these storms in Indiana. But these storms are moving at about half to maybe even 40% of that speed that were occurring Wednesday night. These are moving at about 40 miles an hour east. Storms Wednesday night, 60 to 70 plus mile per hour east and northeast. So nowhere near as fast as storm motion as what we had the other night. Zooming in here, you can really see kind of your strongest portion of the line here near the Gossett, Illinois area, Middle Point, Norris City. Again, here's state line, Mount Vernon for reference. These storms about a half an hour out, if not maybe even a little bit sooner from Indiana. Probably here in the next 15 to 20 minutes. They'll be impacting Mount Vernon here. Coming into the New Harmony, Indiana area as well. I-64 corridor. And I'm watching here for that warning to be issued. If they do extend it into Indiana, it will likely be here very soon. Old warning does go for another 20 minutes here, 19 minutes. However, the leading edge of that storm is starting to get to the edge of that warning box. But they can still see that outflow boundary, Ryan, though, stretching on the southern side of that storm.
Yeah, that outflow boundary is going to be very interesting to see if that's going to cause the storm to weaken. If it does, that's great news. Maybe we can go to bed early tonight, Caleb. Mm-hmm. But in the meantime, I don't think we're going to
say don't count on it yet.
Yeah, don't count on it just yet.
Right, if you would take lead here for a second, I'm going to go refill my water bottle, and I'm going to be right back.
You got it. I'm going to guess we're going to have a warning here by 11 o'clock or just after 11 o'clock here. Current time on your screen there is 10:57, about to turn 10:58 here, April 4th, which is going to be a Friday. Tuning in to Indiana Weather Online here, as well as Indiana Storm Chasing Network. I'm Ryan, alongside Caleb, doing our first dual coverage here on our new account, Indiana Weather Online. So welcome in all you guys who are new here. We do 24/7, 365 live coverage of severe weather, tornadic, severe. We cover it all every day, even on Christmas if we have to. We're going to be here covering it from beginning to end. So if you are in need of coverage, TV stations aren't covering you, or if you're just unhappy with how you're receiving information via the weather, we got you guys. I'm going to expect a warning to be issued here for Posey County at very least next couple of minutes, as the storm is bearing down on the Mount Vernon and New Harmony areas. And a tongue twister there. Again, we are also live simultaneously on YouTube as well as Facebook, Indiana Weather Online and Indiana Storm Chasing Network, for both accounts live on Facebook and YouTube if you prefer to watch on one or the other. Check out the hail tracker. That is some pretty, at very least, heavy rain, small hail, but likely some larger hailstones filling in there. Coming up toward the border here, Oak Grove, Upton, Mount Vernon areas. Definitely be getting ready to, if you're outside or on the roads, get ready to hunker down as this comes through. Right now appears to be a gusty wind threat, maybe some hail in there as well. As of right now, though, I'm not seeing anything tornadic, but that can change very quickly with these storms. There are 2 areas I'm watching. No rotation that I'm seeing here, but there are a couple areas that may try to tighten up. And I just circled them there on your screen, where those reds and greens are kind of meeting, where indentations are kind of coming in and out. That's going to be where we're going to keep an eye on for a potential spin-up tornado, but right now, not seeing that as an imminent threat. I'm honestly kind of shocked they haven't issued a warning yet for Posey County. You'll likely see this get filled in here momentarily, unless they're going to opt for a statement instead, which would be good news. Be good news if we get a statement. Statements are a step below a warning, up to 55 mile per hour winds, or should I say below 55 mile per hour winds, and severe winds are 58 miles per hour or higher. We are a mere miles away from state line here in Posey County. Yeah, no problem. This is going to be a complete, probably some new way of doing things here on the Weather Online account, but this is how we're going to do things. We're going to be covering, forecasting, covering, and also deploying in the field in the event of search and rescue and stuff like that, and disaster relief. So from beginning to end, that's our motto. That's our mission here. So follow along. Radar is indicating hail could be up to about 1.5 inches or so near the Ridgeway and Omaha areas, which is still just across the state line, but definitely indications here that we could have some larger hailstones falling based on some advanced products that I have pulled up here behind the scenes. Actually, to switch this over, the cool thing about it is I can actually just kind of turn this off and bam, other radar's on. But you see this triangle here on the top left of your screen by Ridgeway. That's indicating hail could be pretty large where that black purple area is, just north of Ridgeway there. Welcome back, Caleb. No warnings yet.
Not yet, but that, again, the leading edge of that line is now starting to protrude out and away from our warning box here. Right now, the northern part of the line has my greatest concern right now. Over the southern part, where that outflow boundary is protruding out and away from it, that would indicate more of a gusty wind threat and perhaps a weakening trend for that far southern portion of the line. But the northern end is still going pretty strong near the Carmi area, so Mount Vernon. And there is our severe thunderstorm warning for the state of Indiana. Has been issued now. I'll go ahead and read it out. $half size hail, 1.25 inches. This includes Gibson County, southwestern Indiana, Posey County, southwestern Indiana, as well as Henderson County and Union County in northwestern Kentucky until 10:45 p.m. Central Daylight Time or 11:45 Eastern is what this warning is for. So it's in effect for another 43 minutes here.
What is the storm speed on that?
Storm speed is not very fast. Moving east at 50 miles an hour, so it sped up a little bit.
All right, places included in this warning: Harold in 2 minutes, Emma 5 minutes, Carmi 8 minutes, New Haven 9 minutes, Epworth 9 minutes, Rising Sun 11 minutes, Garnerville 14 minutes, Prairie 15, Upton 15, Grafton 16 minutes, Crossville 16 minutes, Irwin 18, Solitude 19, Farmersville 19, New Harmony 20 minutes, Oliver in 23, Uniontown 25, Rapture in 26, Poseyville in 30, Parker Settlement in 31, Belknap 33, Martin in 35, Johnson in 37, and Owensville in 40. I probably missed a few places in there, but that's your general idea of what this thing is moving. 50 miles per hour to the east-northeast here. So reading off some cities again in the warning: Upton, Caborn, Mars Center, Mount Vernon, Oak Grove, Blairsville, Wadesville, Poseyville, Rapture, New Harmony, Johnson, Upper Hills, Jimtown, Crowleyville, Continental Camp, Griffin, New Baltimore in the yellow box here as this storm is moving off to the northeast. 60 mile per hour winds, $half size hail. Caleb, did you get the warning on both pages by chance?
Yes, I did.
Okay, thank you.
And right now, the strongest winds are going to be right along in north of State Road 62 in southern Indiana, or 141 in Illinois. Right at the apex of that bow, that is going to move close to the New Harmony area and Mount Vernon area for the strongest winds associated with this line here that is going to move into Indiana here over the next couple of minutes here. Though there is no tornado possible tag on it like we had in Illinois, we're going to have to watch that very closely, as there are still some kinks within this line here. Nothing too significant right now to indicate a tornado at this point in time. But again, these systems can be known to be quite kinky at times. I know kinky is not the official meteorological term of the night, but it gets the point across, I think. A couple special weather statements off to the north, too, as well. We have a new one added here for our line outside the Sullivan, Indiana, south of Terre Haute, Brazil, Bloomington. This expires in 40 minutes. 40-mile-per-hour winds and pea-size hail. And same with this one over here. Expires in 10 minutes. Again, 40 and P associated with this one. So again, sub-severe right now on those. So our main focus is going to be down south on our severe thunderstorm warning. So if you are in central Indiana, Bloomington area, again, some thunderstorms could be strong, 40-mile-an-hour NP, but they are not severe at this point in time. So our main focus is going to be further to the south, south of the Mount Carmel area, near Mount Vernon and New Harmony. Evansville, not a severe thunderstorm warning yet, but these storms are heading in your direction as well. Strongest winds right now is just south of the Carmi area. You can see that little boat out front right in there. If I zoom in, you can see the blacks on the reflectivity near the New Haven, Illinois on 141. This turns into State Road 62 in Indiana for reference. Strongest winds here. Here's the Wabash River where you see that black squiggly line there. That is the Indiana state line near the Oak Grove area, Emma area. Is where this storm is situated at currently. Go further south. We have what's called an outflow boundary. You can see that here. Go ahead and turn velocity off, kind of distorted there. From the Uniontown area, or Shawneetown, extending all the way south to Elizabethtown here, near the Ohio River. You can see this is gusty winds protruding out and ahead of the main line. This is what you want to see for a weakening trend. So good news for Shawneetown, Morganfield, just south of the Indiana state line, Indiana-Kentucky line there, between Missouri, Illinois, and Kentucky. A little bit of a weakening trend there. That is not the case for the northern extension of the line, as it is still holding strong. Could have that risk for damaging winds to 60 miles per hour, as well as hailstones up to $0.50, which are $1.25 in diameter. The storm is moving off to the east at 50 miles per hour. Again, counties again included in the warning include White County, southeastern Illinois. Actually, I'll just read the counties in Indiana because that's really what matters. It is southwestern Gibson County, southwestern Indiana, Posey County, as well as Henderson County in Kentucky. So again, Posey County and Gibson County in Indiana under that severe thunderstorm warning until 10:45 Central Daylight Time. The storm is moving off to the east at 50 miles an hour. So again, 60-mile-per-hour winds, as well as $0.50 size hail. So just bigger than quarters. Think 50-cent pieces. That is what the hail size is here. So just smaller than ping pong ball size hail. So between quarters and ping pong ball, that is what we have here.
On the final stretch of this list, Caleb.
On the yep. Nope, you're good. Ryan's just working on some things here behind the scenes. Our damaging wind gust front here is approaching the Oak Grove area right now. You can see that outflow boundary right on the Ohio Wabash River there, right where they meet there is where we are at right now. So we're right at the mouth of the Wabash River, moving into far southern Posey County, State Road 69 area, coming into Oak Grove, Hovey, rather, as well as Mount Vernon coming into you in the next few minutes as well. Again, 60-mile-per-hour winds and $0.50 size hail. The strongest winds right now, areas in pink. You can kind of see that on velocity here with the strongest, just north of the 141 corridor in Illinois and State Road 62 in Indiana. We see that really bright green right on the apex here of this bend here, coming near the Emma area near state line. Camry, Illinois, coming close to the New Harmony area as well. Again, moving north and east moving east rather at 50 miles per hour. And we also have a tornado watch in effect for these counties as well for the next few hours. So we're going to have to watch that risk as well. Moving north, no severe thunderstorm warnings in effect anywhere else in the state. We had one earlier briefly outside Indianapolis, and that's really going to be the trend here briefly. Um, we don't really have the instability the further north you go to support severe weather, but nonetheless, a few of those storms could be strong to locally severe with hail and damaging winds as the primary risk. This new special weather statement that just got issued for 40 miles an hour pea size hail does not include the Bloomington metro area, but getting close, does include the Bloomfield area, Clayfield, Sullivan, Linton, Jasonsville. Again, 40-mile-per-hour winds, pea-sized hail associated with this line of storms here. Off to the east, we have another special weather statement here, in effect for another 5 minutes here for the Franklin cell. Heavy rain um, with any of these storms. This one here is also 40 and pea-sized hail as well. So strong storms, but they are sub-severe at this point in time. Back down across southern Indiana is our severe thunderstorm warning in effect here for another 35 minutes here. Again, strongest winds just now crossing over into Indiana from our neighboring state of Illinois and Missouri. Strongest winds are going to be just to the north of the Oak Grove area. Again, pretty strong winds here as well, with the strongest winds being indicated on radar near the New Haven, Emma area, moving into the Upton area, Mount Vernon area, New Harmony area, and Rapture over the next few minutes here. A lot of lightning associated with these lines, and really all the thunderstorms across central and southern Indiana have a lot of lightning associated with them. Again, areas just to the north, um, including areas like Terre Haute. Again, you guys are not severe. You guys are in a flash flood warning, though. 1 to 3 inches have already fallen, with an additional 1 to 3 inches possible. It's going to rain and thunder in Terre Haute for the rest of the night here. It's probably not going to let up very much in terms of moderate to heavy rainfall. But in terms of severe weather, your severe weather threat is over for the night. Now it's just heavy rain and some embedded lightning associated with that. Further south, we still have our severe weather threat ongoing and just really just starting across southern Indiana as well. And this is where our focus will be primarily tonight across southern Indiana. This severe thunderstorm warning is for 60-mile-per-hour winds and half dollar size hail, which is a $1.25 in diameter. This is for Gibson County, southwestern Indiana, as well as Posey County in southwestern Indiana until 10:45 p.m. Central Time. This does not include the Evansville area, but it is getting close. We may see additional warnings issued downstream, depending on how this storm trends. Again, the strongest winds are just now starting to cross the Wabash River into southern Posey County, Mount Vernon, New Harmony. You guys are on deck. 60-mile-per-hour winds and some hail in there as well. Let's go ahead and turn on our hail tracker to see how that hail is trended now. Then it is moving into Indiana. There we see these darker colors, or darker, deeper grays here. That is where our stronger cores are. You can see that there with the pinks on radar coming into the Oak Grove area just north. State Road 62 in Indiana towards Mount Vernon, Upton, Maumee, Illinois state line there could have some hail there. Not really seeing golf balls anymore, or not golf balls, half dollars, but there could be some quarters in there at this point in time. Would not be surprised. Go ahead and turn our velocity back to the wind. That is our primary risk here. Some pretty strong winds here. Moving into the Oak Grove here. Hard to tell how much of this is clutter versus actual velocity. Just really poor representation by the radar here. Again, I think that's just a radar scope issue here, making the velocities go wonky. It is not loading for me. Let me go ahead and do something here real quick. Nope, you're good.
What's up, Ashley? Good to see you in here.
Yeah, having issue with GR2 connecting to the server on my end, so it might be on my end. I'll look into it here in a little bit. But we do have multiple radar products here we can take a look at. We can do a 4-panel here. Again, I'm actually just going to turn off CC for now. We'll go back to reflectivity here. Here's our gust front right in here. We'll draw it out here for you. Right in here. Mount Vernon's right here. New Harmony's right here. Again, state line. Right in here. So this is just crossing the Ohio River and Wabash River into southern Indiana. I'm going to have to watch out for a few kinks within this as well. A little bit of a kink right in here near the Carmi area, as well potentially right in here as well, outside the Mount Vernon, Upton area as well. Kind of have a little bit of an appendage there on radar. So again, going to have to keep an eye on this pretty well. Nothing super strong on radar, nothing that really screams tornado. But again, a lot of wind shear present today, so have to keep an eye on these storms for that potential for a spin-up tornado. Towns included: Griffin, New Harmony, Poseyville, Mount Vernon. You guys are all on deck. 60-mile-per-hour winds, 1.25 inch size hail, which is $50, 50-cent pieces in diameter, is the going hazard here. Again, I don't see anything that really screams tornado right now. Straight line winds being the primary hazard, followed by that risk for hail. $50 size hail is what this warning is warned for. Turning on correlation coefficient, you can really see the leading edge of the rain. This is what's really nice about this tool, as you can see what's clutter and what is rain. Raindrops, so what correlation coefficient is, we use this tool to look for objects of different size in the atmosphere. This helps us pick things up, such as debris if there's a tornado on the ground, but also hailstones as well, as they are irregular in size, and they also bounce around as well. That helps this tool pick that up. Raindrops are all uniform in size, and actually as they fall, they look like little pancakes. Those pancakes show up as red and violet on the radar here in pink, and that is what we see there as raindrops. On the leading edge, you can really see our gust front here. Why did my draw tool just disappear? There we go. See it right in there. We have some rain here showing up there in the pink, where those pancake raindrops are showing up there. And then behind that, you can see a little bit more clutter here. I'll go ahead and point it out for you to make it easier to see. This would kind of be indicative of where your hail is at. Right in here, coming into the Uniontown area. Maybe a little bit of hail here, and maybe a little bit back in here as well. Again, with your gust front right in here.
Caleb, I want to talk about something here on GR2. I want to take mine.
Go ahead.
Looking up at the Carmi area, we are also seeing a little bit of a hook. We talked about the bookend vortex feature a few minutes ago there, and we're kind of seeing a little bit of a interesting feature directly over the Carmi area. I don't think it's rotation based, but definitely some straight line winds there at this point. This would be the area to watch for anything rotation wise as well. We're going to watch this closely, but Carmi area heading toward Crossville, Phillipstown, New Harmony, and Griffin here on the border very soon. Keep a close eye on that area. I'll do it. I'll keep the radar up on this area in the background. I want to point that out. We have an area of at least some heightened velocity, if not perhaps some brief rotation trying to develop there.
Yep, and really pronounced outflow boundary across far southern Indiana into Kentucky. You can see that tail extending out away from the line. That's your gust front. Probably have an extended shelf cloud on that, meaning those of you ahead of that will see the wind before we see the rain. Not the case a little bit further to the north. Whoa, sorry, didn't mean to zoom in on that far. Go ahead and pause radar here. Here's your gust front here. Here's that straight line winds. Really potent swath there near Carmi that Ryan was talking about. Here's our main gust front. Here's Mount Vernon right here, right on the leading edge of that gust front. Probably seeing some gusty winds starting to enter town right now, up to 60 mile per hour possible there. A little bit stronger near the Carmi, Indiana, coming near the Griffin area, New Harmony area, and Poseyville. Have to keep an eye on that for you as well. A little bit further south here. Go ahead and switch products. Here you can kind of see where Mount Vernon is, our gust front, coming right into town right about now. Right along State Road 62 and 69 is where the leading edge of that is. So Mount Vernon probably seeing some gusty winds right now entering town. New Harmony right on the edge of the rain with the strongest winds just a few miles to the west near the Carmi area. Again, this storm is moving off to the east at 50 miles per hour. And the warning now is for half-dollar size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds is the going hazard here associated with this storm. Whoa, there we go. Elsewhere around the region, no severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect anywhere in the state. A few couple special weather statements in here for a couple stronger storms near the US 231 corridor coming into the Bloomington area, Clay City, Paragon, Cloverdale. Again, subsevere, could have some gusty winds to 40 miles an hour. Pea-sized hail associated with that. And that is our only other special weather statement in Indiana. With the greatest risk being flash flooding here. You can see this big green box here extending from Indianapolis to Terre Haute. 1 to 3 inches of rain has fallen, with another 1 to 3 inches of rain expected. Again, flash flooding has been reported. Area roadways are full of water. Drains are not keeping up, and basements are starting to flood as well. We've seen those reports come in here tonight. Little interesting feature outside Mount Vernon, Ryan. A little bit of dependence there on the leading edge there, but no real indication of rotation there. But we do have some strong winds approaching the Mount Vernon area and Mount Harmony area, moving east at 50 miles per hour.
Yeah, I'm watching like a hawk on GR2 right now. I got the 4-panel looked up, so if I see anything, I'll let you know.
Yeah, right now, straight line winds and hail is the going hazards here. We'll go ahead and turn up Hail Tracker here just to take a look here. Again, probably some decent hail coming into the Mount Vernon area right now. You can see that there where your deeper grays are. Likely some quarter-size hail, if not a few larger stones in there as well. Again, this warning is tagged with 1.25 inch size hail, which is $half or 50-cent piece diameter hail. That is going to fall with the greatest hail core right along State Road 62, moving into the Upton area. On deck for some hail, as well as just south of the Oak Grove area as well, Uniontown getting in on some quarters or perhaps $half size hail as well. Again, our gust front is now moving into southern Indiana. Areas north of the Vincennes area and Bloomington area, your severe weather risk is lower than what it is down here, but a few stronger storms can't be ruled out. Those of you in Terre Haute, your severe weather risk is over for the night. Just heavy rain, lightning for you guys in areas across northern Indiana. Again, no severe weather is expected, just moderate rainfall and some few embedded lightning strikes.
We have a new
for you guys.
A new flash flood warning coming in for Bartholomew, Brown, Greene, Johnson, Monroe, Morgan, Owen, and Shelby County until 2:30 a.m. Eastern. Again, flash flood warning in effect for those counties. Watching all these storms here this evening on the 4-panel look here. Got some areas of some more intense winds here heading toward Crossville, Calvin, Phillipstown. Again, not in Indiana just yet. Also down here by Mount Vernon, some areas of pockets of heavier wind here between Mount Vernon and Upton, as well as Wellborn, Switch, Grafton, Solitude, Springfield, and Oliver downstream from this. But also turn on the hail tracker with this storm. I want you guys to kind of keep note of this. We're going to see a distinct area here, there we go, of some hail. All this color on the bottom right of your screen, that's your hail tracker. Radar indicated hail at 1.25 inches, which is $half size, which is also the warning text as well. So $half size hail potentially moving in toward the Mount Vernon area. I'll go ahead and take back my screen, actually, if we can get this to There we go. I'm going to flip this back over here to the VIL, which is your hail tracker. Perfect. Yeah, here we go. So possible $half size hail from Mount Vernon, Hovey, Upton, Grafton, Wellborn, Switch, moving up to Solitude, Buffkin, Caborn, Mars Center, Lippy, Oliver, as well as Springfield areas, New Harmony, Wadesville, and Blairsville also within the path of this storm. This coloration here is objects or water droplets that are bigger than your typical raindrops, which is why you're going to see some hail with this, as the darker colors indicate larger raindrops, or in this case, hail. And we're also seeing this line here is, as Caleb calls it, a little bit kinky. Kind of has some kinks and indentations and excuse me, indentations within this line, which could also indicate wind, but also potential here for a tornado or two if it can tighten up. Watching that potential very closely here, as there is some small potential. We have some tornadoes tonight in the southern part of the state. Morgan asked a question here in chat. What warnings would you recommend other than Facebook, most trustworthy weather apps? So I always tell people weather apps for severe weather, radar tracking, stuff like that. They're not typically great, but for warnings, they can come in handy. We suggest 2 apps here. The FEMA app, great app there from the U.S. government. But also there's one from the Red Cross called Emergency by Red Cross, and that will also have alerts on it as well. Other apps that have alerts, AccuWeather, Weather Channel, Weather Bug, all good, useful tools for weather alerts. The one thing I always recommend, though, if you're at home, is a weather radio. Caleb's got one. I got one. Set on your desk, program it for your county, let it sit there. It will sound and alert you for any warnings issued. As long as you set it properly, it will sound off for any warnings that are issued for your county or surrounding counties if you set it up for numerous counties around you. Just tuning in, what should Indianapolis expect tonight? Rain and storms. I don't think there's going to be severe weather up there. Perhaps some gusty winds, maybe. Take a peek up there really quick here. Look on the velocity. Not really see much in terms of gusty winds. Mostly just lightning and thunder and a lot of rain. Potential for flash flooding across the city as well. I'd be very low concern for anything severe. The radio we call is a Midland WR120. Again, Midland WR120. That is the weather radio. I apologize. That's this thing. They're about $35 on Amazon. Get them at Meijer, Walmart, hardware store, you name it.
Pretty much any box store has them.
Mm-hmm.
And very reliable. They also have battery backup, which is key for severe weather. Oftentimes power goes out, normal radios will shut off, but these will stay running with that battery backup. As long as you put batteries in it, you're good to go. Kind of a good rule of thumb is when you change the batteries in your smoke detector, do so in your emergency NOAA radio as well. Yep. Make sure they are good to go, always fresh in there. That way when severe weather comes, you guys have a way to get alerts from that. And depending on the app that you have, I know the Red Cross app and the FEMA app, you can also set it to where you can have warnings going off for your area only, like for your county. But you can also set it for it to alert you for like the county next to you or surrounding counties. That way you know what's coming or what has already gone as well. So really good tools to have.
This warning is moving through, or these storms, should I say, are moving through Posey County here fairly quickly. They're about halfway through now. Next counties in line, if another warning is issued, be Gibson, as well as Vanderburgh counties. Warwick, as well as Pike, may be included in that as well. So Warwick, Pike, Vanderburgh, and Gibson counties would be up next with this line bearing down on you guys. Would expect another warning here to come momentarily for those counties.
Yep, and towns involved, that would include the Armstrong area, Highland, Evansville, and Fort Branch area. Maybe getting over the Eberfield area if it's able to maintain its strength. But again, Evansville, Highland, Armstrong, you guys are on deck next downstream. Sorry if I cut you off there, Ryan. I feel like you were going to say something.
Nope. Nope, I'm good. Just try to figure out one more thing here, and then I will be good to go and tune into this 100%.
So again, this severe thunderstorm warning is in effect for another 15 minutes here. 60-mile-per-hour winds, $half size hail, $1.25. Just went through Mount Vernon, coming into the New Harmony area now. Strongest winds just to your south, coming into Wadesville, Blairsville, State Road 66, Mare Center, Evansville. You guys are on deck here. Not in a warning yet. One may be extended in your area here soon. But again, strongest winds just to the north of Buffkin here. Buffkin getting some pretty strong winds right now, coming towards the Oliver area, Parker Settlement, Cavern area as well. Just to the north of Mount Vernon, north of State Road 62, and along 62, could have some pretty strong winds here associated with this line here. Kind of see some individual bowing segments associated with that line that could have some enhanced straight line winds embedded in the line as well. So no other severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect in the state of Indiana. There's a special weather statement outside Bloomington for pea-size hail and 40-mile-an-hour winds, but looking at velocity, I am struggling to see winds greater than 40 miles an hour up there. So again, few gusty winds, small hail, but no severe weather is expected up there. Here we are, zoomed in look here.
Caleb, go up to the Calvin area if you haven't seen that yet. Crossville, Calvin, Griffin area.
Yeah, I've been watching it.
Okay. Yeah, I think we have something developing there, Caleb, near Calvin. Latest scan.
Yeah, I've been watching that here pretty closely between radars here. And this is kind of what he is talking about here. Again, a brighter velocity here. A little bit of an appendage on radar here. You can kind of see it right in there. This is called a dog leg, or a little bit of a kink involved, where you have some stronger winds coming in behind it and some lighter winds on the north and south side of it. So we're going to have to watch the north side of this kind of closely for any rotation that does develop. But right now, a pocket of at least 60-plus mile-per-hour winds right in there. Going to go just south of New Harmony towards the Armstrong area. I'm going to have to keep an eye on that here pretty closely here.
Go north as well. That top of the line there, you see that green sticking out, very top of the line there. That area. The latest scan there makes it kind of look a little bit more interesting than what Radar Scope has it.
Yeah, a little bit. You kind of see that backward appendage to it on the north end. North end of line segments are always portions to watch for embedded rotation, as you have that upper level spin associated with it, and sometimes that can enhance the low levels as well. Really getting concerned here with this scan here. What does GR2 show on that?
No CC, no ZDR hole. Looks like at this point just might be some gusty winds there. I'll keep a close eye on that too. In fact, the great thing about GR2 is I can get up two at the same time. Let me get my second radar up. Sorry.
Yeah. See how it's on the apex of this bow here. So perhaps some really strong winds here, 60 mile an hour plus, getting embedded there on the leading edge. This is going to come towards the Blairsville area. You can see the brighter returns there, just south of Oliver, moving towards Parker Settlement, Boberg Road, up to Blairsville, State Road 66. Got a brighter pocket of winds here. And we do have a new severe thunderstorm warning being issued now downstream.
I believe. It popped in on my screen. Maybe not.
Maybe not. I don't have anything.
I don't see it. I thought it might be the warning loading in on GR2 as I opened the product, but I thought a new warning got issued. False alarm on that. No new warning yet.
That was one that was issued in Ohio, perhaps.
Okay.
Maybe one. Just outside the Dayton, Ohio area.
All right.
But again, still severe thunderstorm warning in effect. They have dropped the hail size down quite a bit. 0.88, this is nickel size hail, and 60-mile-per-hour winds here. Strongest winds right in here, coming towards the Blairsville, just south of Wadesville, State Road 66, over towards the Lippy area, Parker Settlement. Again, right in the apex of this bow here is where our strongest gusts are. And then we have some stronger winds up here in New Harmony, coming into the Grayville area as well, coming towards Johnson. Could have some stronger winds there as well. Evansville, you guys are on deck. Could have some winds here ahead of the main line of storms here. Kind of see that outflow boundary extending away from the rain here. So Evansville, don't be surprised if you get some wind before you get the rain, as this storm appears to be gusting out on the southern end of the bow echo here.
Caleb, we got like a donut hole feature now on reflectivity with those ZDR hole up by Calvin and Griffin. Just want to point that out. Here, I can take my radar if you want to look at it. There you go.
Yeah, something to keep an eye on there. Straight line winds for sure, but you could have some embedded areas of rotation there. Maybe perhaps trying to develop there on the north side. Nothing that screams tornado at this point in time, but it is an area of interest to keep an eye on, as it doesn't take much when you have these situations. We have a lot of spin, and this line was already showing signs of kinking in Illinois, and it has been doing that here in Indiana as well. So an area to keep an eye on. Latest scan here broadens out just a little bit. Strong winds, though, coming into the Griffin area. On the northern end of this line here. Right in here's your gust front here. Moving into the Griffin area, Grayville area. Again, 60-mile-per-hour winds here is the going hazard here. This is I-64. Moving into the Grayville area. Could have some strong winds there. A little bit further south, this line has weakened a little bit, which is good news. It'll be interesting if they issue a downstream warning for Evansville or not. Right now, not a lot on the velocity that suggests that it is well above 60 miles an hour. Down here, maybe a little bit weaker. What do you think on that, Ryan?
I see weaker on the southern edge of that. I think the outflow boundary is kind of winning
Weakening
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, outflow boundaries are really what you want to see for a downtrend. They help stabilize the air ahead of the main thunderstorm and ahead of that updraft that is associated with that thunderstorm. So you can get some rain-cooled air out ahead of the line, and that is basically cutting off the instability before the rain gets there and before those updrafts have a chance to ingest it. So that helps weaken our systems a little bit. So don't be surprised if you... they do usually have some pretty cool shelf clouds associated with them, too. We often call these whale's mouth, where you have the shelf cloud out ahead of the main rain, and it kind of protrudes out like a whale, like the inside of a whale's mouth. We have some turbulence there, some rain-cooled air, and then the rain a few minutes later on the backside. So kind of the story of what is going on there.
Caleb, interesting decision here from NWS. They went ahead and blanketed with a special weather statement out ahead of this, stating wind gusts to 50 and penny-sized hail. So they're suggesting this storm, this line, is not producing severe winds.
Yeah, it is borderline on velocity here, but again, a few sporadic wind gusts a little bit higher can't be ruled out. But widespread severe weather, the NWS feels it has weakened a little bit below, and that could be largely from that outflow boundary as well. So good news here. Hopefully we see this trend continue. Strongest winds, though, appear to be on the northern side of that line near I-64. Pretty close to the radar here, so we'll actually get a good sample here, probably here in about 10 minutes. But again, New Harmony up to the Continental Camp, Griffin area, still could have a few stronger wind gusts in there as well. Elsewhere across the state, no severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect across Indiana. We do have several flash flood warnings that we need to talk about here briefly. Again, the flooding threat is a huge risk tonight across Indiana, as these training showers and thunderstorms have just been relentless here over the last few hours across Indianapolis, Fishers, Newcastle. Again, very heavy rain here. Wouldn't be surprised to see some flood advisories and some additional flash flood warnings issued downstream here as more reports and confidence is gained. 1 to 3 inches of rain has fallen. An additional 1 to 3 inches of rain is expected to come with some of these showers and thunderstorms. So again, very heavy situation. Watch for water on roadways. It only takes 6 inches of fast-moving water to sweep an adult human off their feet, and 12 to 18 inches to successfully float your car, as well as trucks off the roadway and into ditches. So again, turn around, don't drown if you do come across any flooded roadways. Further south here in Indiana, looks like they are going to let this severe thunderstorm warning expire as they have a blanketed special weather statement now for Evansville, Boonsville, Princeton, and Mount Carmel for winds to 50 miles per hour and penny-sized hail, which is 0.75 in diameter. And I might have a camera in Evansville. Actually, let's see if we can find a camera in the Evansville area and we can actually see what's going on down here on the ground here. Let's find a good camera here. Here we go. This is a west-facing camera in the Evansville area. See a lot of lightning here. Some power lines starting to gallop here a little bit. Again, we'll likely see the gusty winds ahead of the main rain here in Evansville thanks to that outflow boundary. Kind of see the cables there swaying a little bit where the stoplights are on there. A little lightning, a few rain. Quite a bit of rain moving into town here in this picture as well. But definitely sub-severe winds here indicated by the camera here.
Yeah, we're back. Cool.
Yep, live look at Evansville, Indiana. Again, the squall line is moving into town. Heavy rain. Gusty winds here. But by the look on the camera here, those winds did appear to be below severe criteria there. A little bit further north here. Let's look at this camera here. I probably won't see anything there. Yeah, gust front hasn't quite reached here yet. Got a flagpole there. Again, light winds there. A lot of lightning associated with this.
Apologies about that. Signals going in and out. Yeah, I know. We're working on that. I'm gonna have to get new internet because it seems to only be an issue when I host streams. So I should invest in better internet. We had the problem fixed pretty easily.
Again, no severe thunderstorm warnings are in effect in Indiana at this time. They have let that expired with a blanketed special weather statement for 50-mile-per-hour winds and penny-sized hail now in effect for southern Indiana. Again, nothing real substantial on the velocity here. Strongest winds still appear to be up here near the Griffin area, moving towards Poseyville and Johnson. Towards the radar here, although reflectivity in the rain appears to be more significant towards the Evansville area, the winds do not. The winds appear to be weaker here the further south you go, which is good news. But again, look at how much rain is on the backside of this line here. This is going to be the big story here going forward. All these green boxes here that kind of blanket the area here like a game of hopscotch. That is all flash flood warnings here, all in effect here for torrential rain stretching from St. Louis, Champaign, Illinois, Indianapolis. Heavy, heavy rain here. And it's not going anywhere either. It's going to rain here for some time into tomorrow morning, and this is going to create hydrologic issues, heavy rain on area roadways, as well as excessive runoff as well. So again, watch for high water tonight and into your Saturday.
Also, want to point out, Caleb, looking at mesoanalysis, real time data, instability, wind shear, that kind of stuff. I want to point out the fact that the instability that we have is not on the surface and nowhere near Indiana.
Yeah, going in tonight, we knew that was going to be a limiting factor. Guidance today had suggested getting just enough instability north of the Ohio River to support more substantial severe weather. But we can kind of tell by the way these storms are handling the environment that we have the other ingredients in place, but we're lacking something, and that something just happens to be our instability. And you can see that there across central Kentucky and southern Kentucky, but not into Indiana. Instability there in those highlighted red circles there in the blue, but you can see how that is not in Indiana at this point in time. So that's good news here, and we may see a weakening trend here early tonight, which would be best case scenario. Got plenty of wind shear in Indiana tonight. There's no doubt about that, but if you don't have instability, these storms are not going to tap into that wind shear. They're just going to be rainmakers. And plenty of moisture, too. Very high plot values there across Indiana. Again, a lot of juice for these storms, which is why we have a flash flood threat across Indiana, regardless of any severe weather threat. Flash flooding is a huge concern tonight across Indiana.
Also, just want to point out the fact that we have a lot of decape. Decape is essentially what we're going to need for downdrafts, gusty winds. So that wind risk will continue. There we go. Just because there's no surface cape, that honestly limits our tornadic risk at the moment. But with a lot of decape that we have out there, that will also support some gusty winds as well. But the overall threat, I believe, is on the lower side here.
Yep, so good news overall. We may not meet our true potential here tonight, which is good news. Hopefully that trend continues. We have a long way to go yet, as these storms will continue well into the overnight hours and into tomorrow morning.
Yeah, a lot of flooding going on out there. This zooming out here, there's a lot of rain left to go to the south of us as well. So we don't have much action going on here besides some statements. Let's take a look at a camera down here in Paducah, right in the middle of ongoing showers and storms here. Let's see if it even loads in. Yeah, there it goes. So we'll take a peek at that real quick. Got some good scud clouds out there in the distance. A lot of lightning, a lot of heavy rain. That's down in Paducah, Kentucky.
Yeah, just to our neighbors to the south, a very electric storm there.
Almost seizure strobe lights on the flashing there.
Yeah, very much so.
Yeah, the good news on this, Caleb, I don't see much in the way of anything gusty anymore with this at all. It just
Not very much. Less than 30 miles an hour being picked up on velocity there, which is good news. And the same goes for the other storm that still has a special weather statement on it. Somehow, I don't see gusty winds associated with that at all either.
Let's take a look at the airport and the Indianapolis radar there. Yeah, I don't see anything there. Well, it's really good news. Maybe we can go to bed early tonight, Caleb.
Fingers crossed for that. Those of you that don't know, Ryan and I have been partners in live severe weather coverage now for 3 overnight events in a row here. This would be the 3rd one.
If we go a stretch here, Caleb, with no warnings for the next half hour to an hour, we may be able to hop off and just kind of monitor behind the scenes if we need to. Know something keeping these guys.
We'll keep an eye on trends.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
it's all about the trends.
And the trend is your friend, and right now, knowing that our instability is our limiting factor, despite having decape for downdrafts, again, without that instability, it's hard for the storms to even tap into decape and bring that gusty winds down to the ground too. So again, without fuel, it's really hard. Even when you light a match, it's hard to get that kindling to light, so to speak. So again, without the fuel, it's hard to get a fire. So even with a match, And that's kind of what we have here. Again, the storms are kind of messy. And when I say messy, I don't really mean severe, like they're making a mess. I mean, they're kind of getting in each other's way. Heavy rain, not really moving. It's just a mess of rain is really what it is with some embedded thunder. But again, right now, no severe weather is occurring in Indiana, which is good news. We had quite a bit of potential across southern Indiana, especially the way guidance was training the instability access to set up, install across southern Indiana. But right now, we just looked at a tool called Mesoanalysis, which shows all the ingredients and where they're at, and that shows the instability to our neighbors to the south in Kentucky, and it has not moved very much, so that is good news.
Looking on GR2 here, even the northern edge of that line, which looked pretty promising there by Griffin, that's just doesn't look impressive anymore either. I'm getting about 40, 45 just to the east of Griffin there, but the line here...
Yeah, and about to get sampled here as well.
The line here, maybe some small hail there between Caborn and Evansville. In fact, actually, go ahead and zoom in here to Evansville. Or actually, I'm looking at an old scan, aren't I? My scan is old.
What timestamp you got?
340. GR2.
That's a radar scope thing.
No, it's GR2. It's down again. Well, good news is Evansville had probably some small hail there about 5 minutes ago. Good thing was it wasn't severe. Yeah, there's your VIL. That's your hail tracker there as that cell entered Evansville, which likely exhibited pea-sized, maybe dime-sized hail there in downtown Evansville. But now it is since a little bit weakened and moved off to the east. Looking at wind gust reports, Caleb, across this southern part of Indiana, unimpressive. 25, 22, and 28 miles per hour. Mount Vernon, Oliver, and Rapture, Poseyville areas. Those are all recording the last 15-minute highest gust. So these are not producing...
Yeah, really been quite marginal at best.
Yeah, these are not producing anywhere close to severe gusts, which is great news.
Great news, yeah.
Evansville gusted to 26. Across the state line in Kentucky, the Henderson City County Airport gusted to 43. And that was as of... no time on that. So I'm not sure if that was recent or back earlier in the day. That could have been a little bit recent too. I don't know. But looking back at this line as it pushed across southern Illinois, the highest gust I see with this, Caleb, is only 40 miles an hour. Let's see, 31, 20, 25, 26, 40. This line ain't doing much of anything right now.
Yeah, so good news right now, but again, something to still keep an eye on, and we'll just have to watch trends on how this evolves here.
Yeah, like I said before, we go about a half hour to an hour or so of no warning. We'll probably pop out of here, just kind of monitor stuff behind the scenes, but we want to make sure it's not going to go severe anytime soon, just because these storms can re-intensify here. But without the surface fuel, and without with the lack of significant reports via wind gusts, I don't see a reason here to stay live unless something significant, uptrends here. There is still a hail risk out there. But looking at the CC product here, I don't see much in the way of anything showing up, which would indicate hail being a probability or even a factor with this.
You can really see where the rain starts, though, on CC.
Yeah, you can. The hail tracker even is weakened here. It was really a big signal back here by Evansville. Entered Evansville, and now it's just kind of weakened and broadened out. So these storms are dying at this point.
Yeah, and a lot of that, I mean, your outflow boundary too, Ryan, I want to point out, is even further away from the main line, and it's also extending further north as well. You're seeing that gust front out ahead of the main line, further north than where we were seeing it as well. So even further news and further confirmation that without instability, these storms are not going to be able to tap into the other ingredients that we have in place. You can only go as big as what your limiting factor is, and depending on what that limiting factor is will determine your outcome tonight. We knew that was a possibility. We knew there were a couple fail modes here today, instability being the greatest of uncertainty. But nonetheless, there's enough guidance and confidence that had enough instability in southern Indiana. The Storm Prediction Center, NWS, and us alike put those hazard risks out and had that wording out accordingly as well for the potential for severe weather across southern Indiana. But again, without instability, it's hard for these storms to really tap into those other ingredients. Like we said, we have a lot of wind shear. We can check the box on that. We have a lift. We have a surface boundary. We can check the box on that. And we also have moisture. Moisture's through the roof. We can check the box on that. But out of all of our ingredients, even though we have 3 out of 4 with our instability lacking, we still don't get a full cookie. We've still mixed with dough. So with that being said, it's kind of hard to get a full severe weather setup. It doesn't take a lot when you have ingredients missing to not get severe weather. But with that said, when you add ingredients, it doesn't take a lot to get severe weather either. So it's a give and take relationship here in the atmosphere. When you add and take stuff away, it has drastic effects on the return of what you see. And tonight we're seeing a weakening scenario or a low end scenario compared to where we would be at right now. If we had that instability, we may have been talking more of a tornado threat, more of a damaging wind threat if we had more instability. So good news with that lack of instability. These storms are having a harder time, which is good. It's what we want to see. We didn't want to have, I mean, let's face it, we've had enough severe weather. We've had enough tornadoes over the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
To honestly, if we went through the rest of the year without seeing a tornado, I don't think any of us would be unhappy with that in the state of Indiana, especially after what we have been through over the last few systems. And really over the last 3 weeks, Ryan, we have went from 0 tornadoes to now 31 tornadoes confirmed in Indiana for the year, and we averaged 22. So let those numbers sink in on how active we have been over the past couple of weeks. Just very active.
We're not even to our most active point in the season. That usually comes in May, June, July area. And so we are starting fast, starting often, starting early. As Caleb just mentioned, we could go the rest of the year without a single tornado and we still be above average. We are 9 above our average already, and it's only April 4th, which is crazy. But the good
historically,
news,
June is our active. I was going to say historically, June is our most active month for tornadoes and severe weather in the state of Indiana. But with that being said, though, of where we're at in our stats, this isn't really a real strong indicator of what we have coming to the rest of the year. One may be easy to jump to the conclusion that, well, we're already at 31. You know, we've had tornadoes with every season. Boy, we better buckle up and hold on to our butts because we're going to have a really busy season. Not necessarily. There's not one driver that really suggests that, or one influencer in the world that really suggests that we're going to have one or the other. It's what we call a wild card year, where we didn't have one climate driver that really suggested an above average year versus another. Last year, it was El Nino. Our water temperatures off the coast of Chile, South America, where we went from an El Nino to a La Nina really fast. That typically takes a couple years. We did it in less than a year, and as a result of that, it really led to a heightened severe weather season, or at least a greater influence in our severe weather season. This year, we don't have that. So really, it's just play the cards, happenstance, that we happen to have these early systems that happen to have all the ingredients back to back to back. That's just kind of the pattern that we've been in. Every few days, get another system. So luckily, that trend seems to be coming to an end here into next week. So some good news, light at the end of the tunnel. Again, right now, subsevere special weather statement is in effect for another 17 minutes here. Wind gusts up to 50 miles an hour. Penny-sized hail, again, 50-mile-per-hour winds is enough to blow trash cans around, loose objects around, patio furniture, cushions. So again, if you have any of those outside, go ahead and make sure they're tied down or secured. Again, don't want to blow it into Fred's yard. Fred doesn't want to pick up your trash can. So again, make sure that is picked up. Maybe some pea-sized hail coming in just north of the Chandler area, near the Millersburg area. Maybe getting in on some pea-sized hail. Road network for you. Maybe just outside of North Stevenson Station Road, moving towards the Fisherville area and Millersburg area on New Harmony Road there, outside of Boonville, getting some gusty winds and some small hail. But again, subsevere at this point in time, maybe some pennies and maybe some dimes, but I don't really see anything too much larger than that.
For our friends here,
and same with winds.
Noah, we have a lot of followers from the western part of Ohio. I want to take this radar really quick. Just to the east of Dayton, we do have a severe warning for Xenia, Ohio. This is a considerable warning. for lime size hail. That is 2-inch in diameter hail. Zooming in here, see the blacks and the purples there. That is your hail core heading towards South Solon, South Charleston, Midway, Newport, London, Madison Lake. This is, again, Western Ohio. For our friends over there, I know we have a lot of followers on the Weather Online account from the Western Ohio. Want to point that out here. You guys have some large hail heading your way. Could be up to lime size, which is crazy to think about.
Yeah, and this storm has been going on for a while here too. Almost has that look of a supercell, kind of has that hook on it. Again, no lower level rotation, but again, a lot of that rotation in the upper levels of the atmosphere. And that really promotes hail. Not all supercells have to produce tornadoes to become a supercell. As long as you have that updraft tilted and you have a little bit of spin in the upper levels, that can prolong the life cycle of a thunderstorm and can also lead to increased hail potential. What we have here along the looks like the I-71 corridor and US 35. Again, lime-sized hail, 2 inches diameter. That's enough to cause significant damage to your roof, siding, vehicles that are left outside. Thankfully, just missing downtown Dayton to the south near the Centerville and Harveysburg area, thankfully. Don't need to see a storm of this magnitude going through in a metropolitan area. But again, areas affected here could still see some significant hail there. Luckily, we don't have anything like that in Indiana at this point in time. That's just kind of a one-off event, I feel there, and kind of surprised to see it at the same time. Just as we don't have instability, neither does Ohio. Ohio doesn't really have that instability up there either. So kind of a, I don't know, a meteorologically or a meteorological happenstance or one-off there. So
yeah, we answered
or a
questions.
meteorological accident.
No tornado in Vincennes. The risk for tornadoes tonight appears to be very, very low with what we're seeing currently.
Yeah, these storms were a lot stronger in southern Illinois, had a little bit more instability to work with. As a precaution, the National Weather Service did go ahead and issue a tornado watch for extreme southwest Indiana to account for this bow echo coming out of Illinois, as it was showing signs of rotation, damaging winds. It was a lot stronger in Illinois and Missouri as it is now. It has drastically weakened as it's moved into Indiana, and largely because we don't have the instability that was forecasted to be in place north of the Ohio River. It has stayed put in central Kentucky and has been unwavering from there over the past couple of hours. So that's good news. That's what we want to see.
I have a question
Again,
here.
Like we said.
Go ahead.
Nope, you're good.
I had a question here for Northern Martin County, asking them what the opinion was tonight. A lot of rain, a lot of thunder, a lot of lightning, but in terms of severe, appears to be very, very low at this point. So I'd probably just head to bed at this point. I don't see a reason to stay up and make sure you are monitoring weather. It's going to be loud, a lot of lightning out there, a lot of flooding as well, but otherwise I don't think there's as much of a severe risk up by Martin County.
Nope, I'd agree.
I don't think I have a lot of questions being asked here about Indiana, so I don't want to say this, I guess I don't want to be too aggressive with this, but as of right now, I don't think there's much of any tornadic risk in Indiana tonight, based on what I'm seeing here. So if you're going to ask about tornadoes in this place, that place, a blanket statement across the entire state of Indiana, I don't really see much of any risk for anything tornadic currently, based on, number one, the instability is not up here. Number two, these storms are dying very quickly. So it could be a hail threat, it could be a gusty wind threat, sure. But for right now, I just don't really see much of a tornadic risk across the state. The counties I see a potential wind and hail risk still: Warwick, Spencer, Perry, Crawford, DuBois, Pike, Orange, Harrison, Washington, Jackson, Lawrence, Scott, Clark, and Jefferson, maybe Jackson County as well. But those bottom 2 or 3 tiers of counties, as of right now, would still have a little bit of concern there. But based on what we're seeing, zooming in here, these storms are dying. You see this little line here, this green line, that is outflow winds from the storm. That means that the storm is losing strength. It's not taking on new inflow to sustain itself. It's putting out cold wind. As a result, it's going to weaken. So with that said, I do not think these storms are going to strengthen any further from what they already are, and they're already sub-severe. So I don't see a reason at this point to be overly concerned for severe weather. In fact, we might hop out of here pretty soon, Caleb. It's 12:05 here. We'll wait probably till 12:30. I'm going to say, just to kind of keep an eye on things. But otherwise, I think we're probably good to jump off of here. Just based on what we're seeing, I don't see anything that's overly concerning. We could still see some gusty winds along the edge of that outflow boundary as well as the line here, but it'd be very short-lived. It wouldn't be widespread.
Yeah, and I think the biggest story right now is this is turning into a flash flood threat across all of central and southern Indiana. And no matter where you are in Indiana, we're going to see thunderstorms tonight. A little bit less north of US 24, but areas south, heavy rain and thunderstorms no matter where you live, especially south of I-70, heavy thunderstorms. Again, rainfall rates over an inch an hour are possible, and they have been observed. Again, we've seen storm reports from roadways underwater. We've seen difficulty driving. We've also had reports of basements starting to become flooded as well, and that's going to be something we're going to see into tomorrow as well. Again, these storms aren't moving very fast. When we were talking about our severe weather events the last couple of days, we had a lot stronger storm systems. We actually had a cold front associated with this last couple setups that were helping to push these storms out of the state. We have a boundary, which is a little bit different than a cold front because we don't have a driving mechanism. So these storms aren't moving very fast. They're going to be moving over the same areas, bringing that heavy rain risk and causing a flash flood risk as well. And with that being said, we have a new flash flood warning in effect, including the Evansville area as well, for 5 hours and 39 minutes is how long this goes. So again, a very long-lived flash flood warning and is in effect until 4:45 a.m. Central Daylight Time. This is for Gibson County, Posey County, and Vanderburgh County in southwestern Indiana. Flash flooding is expected to be ongoing or is expected to begin shortly. Several inches of rain have fallen here, and several more are expected to go. We have another one just to the north of that, which includes Vincennes, Terre Haute. 3 hours and 8 minutes for Vincennes until 3:15 a.m. So a little bit earlier. Again, 1 to 2 inches of rain have fallen, and an additional 1 to 3 inches are possible. So potentially 3 to 5 inches of rain before everything is said and done by tomorrow. That's a significant amount of rainfall, especially when you think of how much rain we've already seen. Our soils can't handle the rain. We are saturated. This will pose the risk for swollen rivers, flooding, soil erosion, all the hydrologic issues associated with it, which is also another reason why I am indubitably relieved that we do not have the instability for a wind threat tonight. Given our soils are saturated, that would even pose a greater risk for fallen trees. Trees have a very difficult time holding on to their root structure and grabbing onto soil when the soil is undergoing soil liquefaction, meaning it is very wet, it's very alluvial, it just does not hold together very well because it's so waterlogged. So that's another reason why I am really relieved to see the severe threat decreasing as of right now, because of the risk for not only landslides, mudslides, and the hillier terrain across southern Indiana, but also fallen trees. Trees are only good as the soil that they're growing in. So the more saturated or poor rocky soil they're in, the harder time they're going to have to hold on before something lets go. So that's really good news on my end that I see here, data-wise. One good outlook, I guess. But again, the flood risk will persist across Indiana well into next week, even after this whole pattern change comes to where we go into a drier period. The flood risk will extend well into that drier period. It's going to take several days, 3 to 5 days, for these swollen rivers to fall back within their banks, to recede below flood levels, just because there's so much water in these flood basins that we need to get out of here. Many area rivers are expected to crest near moderate or major flood stage by tomorrow. So again, if you live in a flood-prone area or drive through an area that is prone for flooding, listen to your local EMA, heed all road closures as well. Turn around, don't drown, and have those alternate routes set up. Know your sandbag locations as well. Many towns, EMAs, and fire departments will host sandbagging parties, as they're called. So again, know where to go to get sandbags if you need them across southern Indiana. Some areas have already seen near a half a foot of rain, and some areas could see up to 8 inches of rain when added up all together from this week by Sunday morning. So again, that's a significant amount of rainfall, and when you equate that to gallons, I mean it's just astronomical. 1 inch of rain per 1 acre, or just over 53,000 or 5,000 square feet, equals 27,154 gallons of water. That is 1 inch of rain on 1 acre of soil. And when you times that by 8 or 10, you're over 100,000 gallons of water. That's just astronomical. It's crazy how much water. And that's just on 1 acre. When you talk about, an entire flood basin, you're now in the millions of gallons of water that need to vacate, soak in, or go somewhere. So just crazy amount of water when you look at it and do the math. Really blows your mind. Like 193,000 gallons of water per acre is nothing to laugh at when you're when you're in that 8 to 10 range. It's just crazy. Nothing short of crazy.
Had a comment in here earlier from Tammy that we missed about an hour ago. It says the Weather Online account used to be my go-to. Went away for so long. Look to others, but I hope you guys do just as well as before. So far, very happy with it. Thank you, Tammy, for that. Our goal here is to get this page back operational, and it is. We're just not doing full time just yet. We haven't been forecasting much, but we want to get on and be live and get you guys aware with coverage and stuff like that. But yeah, this page here on Facebook is our mission here is get that back and active and better than before. So Brandon did a great job with it. He's moving on in life and he's willing to give us a chance, and he did. So I have a couple new warnings across the state line here. Go ahead and take back the radar here near Paducah. Severe warning here for quarter-size hail and no winds. And that's, you can see a couple things here with these storms further south. They have some instability to work with, which is good news for them, or for the storms it is, not for the people, but for the storms. But we're still seeing hail cores as a potential, even with this outflow boundary that's visible on radar here. So the storm is weakening down there as well, but still managing to produce this large hail. And that's due to the upper level instability that's that's due to the upper level instability that is down there here in the Paducah area. It is not up here in Indiana currently. But we are going to watch this. A very distinct gust front. Could get some gusty winds. Borderline probably 40, maybe 50 mile per hour at most along this outflow boundary here. But the storms themselves are dying as they progress eastward, which is great news. There is some gustier winds here with that line, probably 40 to 50. We'll watch that. They'll probably extend that statement further east here toward Leopold, Ferdinand, English, Huntingburg area. But as of right now, it does not appear to be severe. The strongest pixel I'm going to get here is in the mid 40s. And again, for severe, it's 58 miles per hour or greater for a warning. So still some gusty winds possibly with this line, but at this point in time does appear to be at the below severe criteria. This radar beam is at 1,600 feet off the ground. So it's not too terribly high off the ground, but still, basically radar beams, they kind of shoot up because of the curvature of the Earth. So we're not really seeing what's happening on the surface at this particular
And something
area.
else to note, Ryan, our special weather statement here expires in 1 minute.
I would expect them to extend it. We'll see. Does this warning area switch over to Louisville at some point? I know Paducah has some counties down here, but does it switch over to Louisville here in a second?
Yes, it does. It's moving into Louisville CWA right now.
Okay. So they're switching basically
Yeah, the
offices
tornado
here.
watch was the tornado watch was only for Paducah CWA. That's why it was really limited to Southwest Lower Indiana. National Weather Service in Paducah included those counties.
What's up, Riley? Good to see you in here.
Louisville did not. And our special weather statements expired. We have no special weather statements or severe thunderstorm warnings in effect in Indiana at this time. All severe thunderstorms are sub-strong and sub-severe. Still some gusty winds, but again, nothing that warrants a special weather statement. Hey, never mind, I spoke too soon. Special weather statement from Louisville and maybe Indianapolis as well, but I think Louisville.
Doesn't say.
But again, really weak winds there. 35 to 40 is what they're saying.
Which is still sub-severe here. So we're going to give it another 15 minutes, I'd say, Caleb, and then we'll pop out of here maybe.
Maybe around 12:30 we'll reassess.
Yep. Again, this area here, the velocity here does suggest some gustier winds. I don't think they're severe, but I do think that there's potential here for 40-mile-an-hour winds or so. Popping open the observation map here for recorded wind gust in this general area. 22 is the highest gust I have. That's going to be in the Richland area, and that was as of 12 o'clock. 12:08. Sorry, 12:08. So 8 minutes ago, as this passed over. So even with the new SWS as well there, they just issued a wide one for 40-mile-per-hour winds or below. So this just not much happening with these storms.
Again, just lost a lot of our instability here. Just didn't make it to Indiana, so that's what these storms are struggling with.
Yep. And let's go back further north here. A lot of showers, a lot of thunderstorms in here, and a lot of heavier rainfall as well across central Indiana. Going further north, there's no severe threat up here at this point in time. It's just a bunch of light to moderate rain, maybe some lightning embedded within these heavier bands. Up into Michigan, even some lighter rain moving up into southern Michigan right now, even western Ohio. That warning continues.
Yeah, still warned for 2-inch hail. Lime-size hail is still going there. And look at your hail core there on radar. That's just crazy. Again, they have a very similar environment to what we do in Indiana, but yet it has produced a long-lived storm with significant hail, which is crazy to me.
Yeah, so if you have friends or family living in western Ohio, this is heading toward the West Columbus area, but immediate impact zones: Chrisman, West Jefferson, Darbydale, Lily Chapel, Georgeville, Wrightville, Big Plain, Galloway, Alton, Madison Lake, London. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. I'm not gonna try.
Chrisman.
No, this one down here.
Oh,
Koussville,
maybe.
I don't know that city, but yeah, those are the immediate impact zones here. The purple and blacks indicate the heavier hail core there, moving to the Madison Lake and probably London area. If you're on the south side of London, it's a pretty populated area there. Be alert there as this hail core moves your way. Again, western Ohio moving toward the Columbus area. Lime-size hail is falling with that storm. It's crazy. Let's go ahead and check back down here.
Definitely enough to put a few dents in your car, that's for sure.
Probably break a few windshields and probably put some dents in your siding on your house too.
Oh, absolutely, easily. Golf balls can do that, let alone lime.
Yep. I'm going to try and match up this color real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah. At least there's no wind with that storm. Every time you have wind-driven hail, it just amplifies the hazards with it. So at least if there is some good news, that's some good news with that one in Ohio. But again, no severe thunderstorm warnings in effect anywhere in the state of Indiana. We have a lot of flash flood warnings in effect for all of central Indiana, in west central Indiana, and southwest Indiana. Rainfall amounts of 1 to 3 inches have already fallen, with an additional 1 to 3 inches possible before this event is said and done. Flash flooding is occurring or expected to be ongoing now across much of central and southern Indiana, thanks to heavy rainfall rates up to 1 inch an hour and just persistent rain behind our main line here, maybe a 1/2 inch per hour, and some of the oranges there that you see there. and some lightning too. Areas north of Indianapolis, just a nice general light to moderate rain, few rumbles of thunder, um, but again could bring some ponding on area roadways and renewed flooding as well. So keep that in mind. Back to our special weather statement here for the Jasper Ferdinand area. Warned for another, or not warned, rather advised for another 40 minutes here. Wind gusts of 35 to 40 miles per hour here. And based on radar, I do agree with that. You're probably going to see your gust front before the rain. Again, your gust front is extended well out ahead of the main line here, especially south of Dale near the Rockport area into the Ohio River. Again, gusting out ahead of that main line. You're going to have a brief swath of gusty winds, followed by a break. It may get quiet before the rain comes, and then some moderate to heavy rain moving in thereafter.
Yeah, keep an eye on those gusty winds there by Gentryville. Again, I don't think they're severe, but they are increasing. I do believe that's because of the radar being getting higher and higher up there. It may have some stronger winds above our heads, but I don't think it's quite getting to the ground yet. Based on reports, again, we're only seeing the highest report out of these storms in southwest Indiana tonight, I believe, was 40 miles an hour.
So again, still, that's well below severe criteria. In fact, 18 miles an hour below criteria. 58 or greater is considered severe criteria. A lot of times you'll see them just put 60 on the warning tags as a baseline. So anything higher than that is considered severe for winds. But nonetheless, 35 to 40 miles an hour is strong. Shouldn't be completely dismayed, as it is enough to blow loose items around, can blow some sticks down. Trash cans, it can efficiently blow your trash can out in the road or the street, or Fred's yard, So do be cognizant of that. Patio furniture can blow that around as well.
I think Caleb has a personal vendetta against somebody named Fred.
I call everything Fred, from pets to people. It's just my go-to generic name. So, stream with me long enough, Fred will come out a lot. Those who know me just know I name everything Fred. Well, I name everything Fred, so.
That's very true. I've known Caleb for, 6, 7, 8 years now.
Not at least. Fred or Frank, whichever one.
If you guys got questions about weather or just us in general, feel free to drop them in chat. This is kind of a slow time here. We're just kind of watching some gustier winds. Nothing severe, nothing concerning in the state. So now's the kind of time to sit back, relax, and have a good time. So if you guys got questions or want to know more about us here, feel free to chime in here. We are open books. At least until a warning is issued, although I don't really expect one to be issued, but if they do, we'll have to kind of focus on that. But in the meantime, we are here at your disposal.
But again, no immediate severe weather risk for Indiana. I know we increased our wording a little bit earlier today on our pages, hinting at the possibility of severe weather across Indiana. And that was largely because we had a lot of ingredients in place today across southern Indiana. We didn't want to dismay the fact that we could have the potential for damaging winds, isolated tornadoes, and hail today across southern Indiana, with the limiting factor of instability. We knew there was a possibility that our instability could be the fail mode for Indiana, but we didn't want to discount that entirely. That is good news that we didn't fully maximize our potential today across Indiana. I don't know one person that would complain about that, considering how active we have been over the last few weeks across Indiana. Again, we're at confirmed 31 tornadoes now for the state of Indiana for 2025. That is above average. Our average is 22 on an annual average since 1950. 4 tornadoes in Indiana, so we're well above average, and it is only March, so kind of a good thing that this is not meeting up to the expectations here today. So hopefully that trend continues, but nonetheless, we are transitioning into a flood risk associated with this, and that was expected here, whether we had the severe weather or not. A flood risk was there regardless because of the slow forward movement and propagation with these storms and the heavy precipitational values that we have here as well. Again, rainfall rates up to an inch to an inch and a half an hour, and your leading edge there in some of your heavier thunderstorms. And then where you see the widespread blanketed orange and yellow up to about a half an inch an hour associated with that. And that is pretty persistent too. And when you add that up, you can get 1 to 3 inches of rain within that over a 1 to 4 hour period. So, again, ponding, flooding, those risks will also continue well into next week, as it'll take some time for our river basins to fully drain back to pre-flood levels, just because we have so much volume of water that needs to be drained and absorbed by our soils and our rivers and tributaries over the next few weeks.
Question in here. I see your question, Nicole. I'm going to pull up an example for you, and I'll show you what we look for on radar. But Briley has a question. Is Michigan done with severe weather for a little while? Caleb, do you want to take that?
Yeah, short term, yes. Long term, no. We are in the Midwest in spring. We all know this is a very volatile time of year. But going ahead here, we do see a pattern change coming up here. It starts this weekend, starts on Sunday. We're going to see a trough move into the Midwest and lower Great Lakes. What a trough is, for example, the opposite of a trough is a ridge. A ridge is a ridge of high pressure, which brings warmer temperatures, moisture up from the Gulf of Mexico into our region. That keeps us above average. A trough is what we see that brings cold, drier air from Canada, from our neighbors to the north, and that'll keep us quiet over the next week to a week and a half. And that'll also push any severe weather chances off to our south and away from the Midwest and Ohio Valley. So that's good news here moving forward here for the near term. But we still have a pretty active pattern overall when you look at the long-term pattern. So again, we do look into the future, mid-late month perhaps. We look to get active once again with storm systems and perhaps chances for strong to severe weather, and that includes the Ohio River valleys and the Great Lakes region as well, such as Michigan. So again, long ways to go yet through spring. We're not done yet, but we do look to get a nice little break here next week. But with that break comes colder temperatures. Those of you with flowers outside, much of Indiana has started to have daffodils coming up, leaves, and even blossoms on some fruit trees across southern Indiana have been reported. So again, if you guys have those, feel free to cover them up next week. Monday night in particular and Tuesday night could get quite cold. We could see lows in the 20s statewide for a couple of those nights, starting Monday night especially. Sunday night across northern Indiana could see some 30s perhaps. Big question is, will frost advisories or freeze warnings be issued? I don't know. Technically, the growing season has not started yet in Indiana. USDA does not have very high planting progress yet for Indiana for corn or soybeans. We're a little early for that yet. So a lot of times the National Weather Service will base that on agricultural impacts from these colder temperatures. They don't base that off your daffodil freezing index. So it's based on our cash crops, what can actually cause economic harm is a lot of times for those advisories, both frost and freeze. So it'll be interesting if they issue them. If they do, it'll be far southern Indiana. But honestly, I wouldn't bank on any of those being issued yet. We're just a little early yet. But I do know we have a lot of those early spring flowers and sensitive plants starting to grow. So nonetheless, put the word out. Cover them up or water them before you go to bed. Watering the soil can help hold the heat and help prevent frost as well. So something to look ahead. But with that, we could also see some wet snowflakes mixing in across especially northern Indiana Sunday into Monday. Don't shoot the messenger. I don't like it either, but it is a reality. No snow accumulations or anything like that, but don't be surprised to see a few wet snowflakes mixing in. Like I said, I don't like it either, but it just is what it is.
Had a question in here from Nicole. How would you spot a tornado on your radar? I want to answer that. If you guys don't
that's
mind.
a great question.
So I'm going to pull up a radar. It is not live. Okay, I want to make that clear. It is not live. I've got to share it. Hold on. Let me take down my screen here. One second. Pull it up. So very simple to understand analogy here. This is on the right side of your screen, your velocity, your wind velocity. Red's going away from the radar, green's going toward the radar. You see here where they meet. When you have that match, this over here on the left side, that is your debris tracker. You see that blue ball? That is all of your debris from the tornado being lofted in the atmosphere. That is what a tornado looks like on a radar. Again, not live. For those of you just tuning in, we're not tracking a live tornado here. It's an example from a question. But when you have the winds that are meeting here, going inbound and outbound, coming together, make a couplet. When you have that correlate well to on the left side your debris, that is how you spot a tornado on radar. And I hope that makes sense. I don't want to keep that screen up too long just in case someone's tuning in and they see it and they think, oh, tornado, I don't want to keep it on too long there, but that is how you spot it.
Yep. Yep, that's one of the many tools that we use to spot tornadoes on the ground. Not always are they that clear and evident. Sometimes you have to watch it a little bit. But again, that's what makes modern radar technology so much nicer. And we've just come so far in technology as a whole in the meteorological community. Even go back 10 years in the 2010s, 2010s. Radar was not as advanced to where we are now in the 2020s. So again, we've just come so far in the different features and capabilities that we are able to utilize that radar beam and train it to look for different objects, not just raindrops. What started with radar in World War II was spotting enemy aircraft. We have now fine-tuned that to look at raindrops and tell the difference between what is a raindrop and what is hail and what is flying debris. So quite a significant improvement in technology, and not that many years. I mean, we're talking, 70 years. So a very short period of time, we have been able to train radar to look at airplanes to now objects as small as raindrops. So again, pretty remarkable feat of technology, and just where we've come in technology as a whole in the meteorological community to keep everyone safe. So again, pretty remarkable when you think about it in the evolution of Doppler radar. It's come a significant ways in the advent of meteorology as a whole. So it's very cool.
Sean has a question in here. I've been using RadarScope and noticed a lot of TVS cells come and go. Is that indicating rotation? That is AI basically built into the radar. It sometimes does that when it kind of thinks that there might be rotation. It's not a very reliable way to track rotation at all. I wouldn't use it to tell you there's rotation or a TVS at all. That can be very inaccurate.
A lot of times it can pick up clutter and other things that are non-rotational in nature and give that false interpretation. So personally, I don't use it on when I have radar pulled up.
I don't either. Is a built-in room inside a garage safe from a tornado? Asks Michael. It depends on what kind of built-in room it is. Generally speaking, I'd say no. Your basement is going to be your best bet. Garages are usually pretty weak in nature, so I would suggest stay out of your garage. If that is a reinforced room, like a safe room designed for tornadoes, then okay, that's fine. If it's just a regular room built within your garage, I would say hit your basement, or find your house, your most interior part of it, away from windows. I would not.
And the biggest reason for that is garage doors are not considered an exterior wall. They are considered as not a wall at all. In fact, they can be easily punctured, easily inundated by the winds. Once winds get inside your home becomes compromised. So that's the biggest reason why, don't shelter in a garage. Yeah. When you have flying objects flying at a velocity, they act like missiles. They're projectiles, and they can easily go through that plated steel of your garage door, insulated or not. Again, interior walls are the safest. Again, put as many layers. Think of it as layers, like an onion, right? Tornadoes do their damage from the outside in, and that goes for straight line winds too. Put as many layers between you and the outside as possible, and then you'll increase your chances for safety and survival in the event of a tornado. Again, basement is always the best option, but a lot of us don't have basements. So think of it as layers. Put as many layers between you and the outside as possible. But garage doors do not count as a layer whatsoever. I don't care how insulated or nice your garage door is. Don't count it as a layer.
Michaela has a question. How far in advance can you tell bad weather is coming? And the answer to that can be, depending on what exactly bad weather is defined as, we can track systems to watch, 10 days in advance. Like we can see them on the models. But in terms of like how bad it's going to be, like do we know if there's going to be tornadoes or what kind of hazards, where exactly it's going to impact? We don't know that usually until about a 3-day period. So if it's to a Monday, we're not going to know until about that Friday night, Saturday time frame until or about if the risk is on a Monday, we're not going to know until about Friday night or Saturday what areas and hazards are going to be at play that day. So generally speaking, we can track systems at 10 or so days, but we're not going to know details, specific details, until about 3 days or less.
Yeah, once they're really far out, they're nothing more than a trend at that point in time. A lot of times, in the extended forecast period, let's say 5 to 7+ days out, you look at level charts, upper air charts in the atmosphere. You look at trends, how the jet stream is evolving, what support you have in the mid and upper levels that may support a larger system that may impact the region, and we watch those trends. And then as we get into the 3 to 5 day period, all right, this trend is holding. Let's see how this system evolves, and then we start kind of looking at, okay, what could we see here? But it's still a trend at that point in time. It doesn't really become a forecast until we get the 1 to 3 day time frame, and that's just because of lack of data. The atmosphere is ever changing, ever evolving. It's a fluid, just like a moving river, and rivers can deviate. The atmosphere is no different than that. It needs to be thought of as a fluid. The atmosphere is fluid in nature. And so with that being said, different areas of the atmosphere can influence other areas as well. So it's ever changing. So because of it's ever changing, that's like asking me what I'm going to eat for lunch 2 weeks from now. It's just not going to happen. I don't even know. The atmosphere is no different from that until we have those set variables. And unfortunately, it's not with a lack of technology. That's just meteorology, forensic meteorology. We just don't have the data. It's impossible to know that data, no matter how good technology is. Forecast guidance can get you close, but without having the exact data points, like look at today, for example, this morning, forecast guidance was showing that instability access to be across southern Indiana. But here later this afternoon and evening, we realized it's stalling out in Kentucky and it's not going to make it. So forecast models can get you close, but it really comes down to forensic meteorology and the actual data points that justify a severe weather event or not. So a lot of science, a lot of math, and a lot of patience as well. So
Michaela also asks another question here. What app do you recommend for the type of radar? Michaela, I would highly suggest spending $10 and getting the Radar Scope app. It's an app on both Android and Apple. It was actually if you're watching us when we were talking about the debris and talking about how to spot a tornado, that was Radar Scope for your computer. It's an app on your phone as well. I would highly suggest spending $10 and getting it. It's a strict radar app. It's not going to tell you the temperature. It's not going to tell you if it's going to rain, but it will tell you what's on radar. It also tells you the wind speed, stuff like that. It's a good tool to use, good tool to have, good tool to learn if you want a good radar. Weather apps do not do a good job at doing the radar themselves. It's
yeah, you can't see future radar on it. It is actual radar. But in terms of best bang for your buck for actual radar and depiction, it does a pretty nice job of it.
Shonda also asked the same question below, Michaela. What radar do you suggest to use for every day? Again, Radar Scope would be great. If you guys just want typical weather, you can log on to NOAA NWS. They also have a radar usually on your local, put in your zip code. They should have like a live radar pulled up there. But if you want one on your phone that's easily accessible, spend $10, get the Radar Scope app. You will never need another radar again. It is very good to learn.
And that kind of goes into it too. Go ahead, Ryan. I'm
I was
sorry.
going to say, Deborah had a question about if the storm's going to head up into Michigan. The answer is no. Michigan is no risk tonight.
Nope. Maybe some light rain south of I-90, but no severe weather. And the thunder risk is very low as well. Monroe County, maybe a little bit of thunder, but very low at that.
Nicole asks, what is the most reliable weather app? Well, that's a loaded question.
That's a very loaded question.
Let me try and explain this in simple terms here. The answer is really no weather app. They all kind of do things good and do things bad. So if you're trying to look at your weather app for severe weather, big snow, how much snow, if it's gonna be tornadic at your house, they're terrible. Don't use them for that. If you're looking for temperature, maybe rain chances, general like ideas, they can be okay. Weather alerts, they're okay. But in terms of like severe weather or big snow, my pet peeve and my biggest pet peeve doing weather, streaming and stuff like that is when people say, my weather app says this. If we put out a forecast that says we're going to have a chance of severe weather, the last thing I want to see, read, or hear is the words, my weather app says, because time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have seen people say that, and time and time again, we have s damage to property happens, people lose their lives, severe weather happens. So even though there's a group of people out there that says my weather app says this, I believe it over any meteorologist, that is my biggest pet peeve. Weather happens outside your backyard, so it's not always going to impact you. That is true. But in terms of using apps for severe weather forecasts, timeframes for that, or big snow, don't use them. They're good for temperatures, they're good for precip chances, they're good for alerts. Other than that, they're pretty much useless. Radar, the best
and a lot of that
weather
is because they're AI driven, and so that algorithm is constantly chasing, and it depends where that AI is driven or getting your data from as well. It's all about where that data is pulled. Bad data in, bad data out, and that's what happens with weather apps. And so, unfortunately, it's nothing against the producer. It's really just where that data is coming from. And Future Radar, especially, even on forecast models that we use here behind the scenes for weather forecasting, they're constantly changing and evolving, just like your weather app on your phone. And that's where it comes into forensic meteorology and weather forecasting, looking at the data that you have present in the atmosphere compared to what the weather models are showing. And that's where knowledge and experience comes into play. All right, well, let's say, for example, today, the HRRR, RFS, all these models are showing at a significant squall line moving through the southern Indiana. Even up to the 18Z, which was this evening's run, we're still showing a significant squall line moving into southern Indiana. But then when you look at the actual data plots, you notice something that tells or perhaps paints a different picture. And that's our instability. It didn't quite make it. That's the issue with radar apps. They may show one thing, and in reality, we get something different just because that AI is constantly changing and updating. For example, it may show no rain in the afternoon. It may go from 0% to 100% because a pop-up shower popped up in Fred's backyard and it's coming your way. So that's another thing too about weather apps, especially in the summertime when we forecast thunderstorms. Well, my weather app doesn't show any rain. Well, nothing's popped up yet. So another kind of unfortunate thing with technology. Technology can get you close, but it's not going to get you 100%. So take it with a grain of salt.
The second part of that question too is if you're looking for a good radar app, again, like you told other people in here, RadarScope is your go-to. If you can have a combination of a RadarScope, an app that gets alerts like WeatherBug, and then an app you trust. I personally like Weather Underground for temperatures. If you can get like a 3-app type of combo there, that's probably the best way to do things. That's just my opinion. Michael says, thank you so much. Only other option besides the garage, I assume, is our pantry or bathroom, but it has an exterior wall. Honestly, Michael, I go for the bathroom out of those 3 options. I would go to your bathroom just because the piping can go into the ground. It's solid. That's your best chance of staying intact. So I hit the bathroom. Otherwise, if you need to go to the interior room, it can be an open room. If it's walls, around you, no windows, that's probably the best bet too if you have an interior room in your house. Otherwise, bathroom would probably be my choice.
Yeah, but just place yourself away from that exterior wall if you don't have interior. Put as much distance between you and the outside as possible. So,
anything bad for Salem tonight? If you want thunderstorms, tonight's your night. If you want rain, tonight's your night. If you want severe weather, I don't think tonight's your night. I really think the threat is pretty much minimal at this point. Across the state. Looking on radar here, it's just been on a weakening trend. Still could see some gustier winds, maybe some smaller hail. But I think Caleb and I are probably going to hop out of here closer to 1 here and just kind of monitor things behind the scenes. We only had 1 warning in the state back down there by Evansville, and that's about it. So otherwise...
And the southern part of the line is already moving out of the state, and the only part that really is an area of interest is what has a special weather statement on it. And once that moves towards Louisville... it's almost safe to say the threat is pretty much over for the night. And a lot of that is because of our instability. Earlier today, we were preparing to stream all night through about 5 in the morning with a more significant severe weather risk. But because we didn't have all the ingredients quite come together as forecasted and as projected by our forecast guidance models up to this evening runs, we're still showing enough instability to support some severe weather, including a low-end all hazards risk. That just is not materializing here across southern Indiana, which is great news. Again, we've had our fair share of severe weather over the past week and a half, 2 weeks. So I don't think anyone's going to complain too much about an underperforming event across the state of Indiana. That is okay by my books. Again, there's a look at what we call mesoanalysis. This is our real-time data. This is where we get into the nitty-gritty of meteorology and atmospheric mechanics. This is a look at the instability, where you see those red lines and blues there. That's our instability. As you can see, it is not further north than central Kentucky. Earlier today, and even this evening, our forecast guidance had that line into southern Indiana, as far north as Bloomington. But as you can see, it is a couple hundred miles south of where it was supposed to be, or at least forecasted to be. So again, meteorology is not an exact science, and sometimes Mother Nature has different options. So that can be for you or against you, but sometimes things happen. So, which is good news in this case. A good night for ducks, but a bad case for severe weather. Not really looking too probable anymore for widespread severe. Can't rule out a few gusty winds again, but right now, heavy rain and lightning are the biggest hazards with these thunderstorms, as well as flooding. There's a lot of flash flood warnings as well. Pretty much all of central Indiana down to southwest Indiana are currently in a flash flood warning. 1 to 3 inches widespread have already fallen, and an additional 1 to 3 inches could fall overnight tonight into early tomorrow morning. So again, watch out for ponding, excessive runoff. Watch out for washouts as well, some soil erosion, shoulder erosion on the side of your roadways, and river swelling as well. A lot of our rivers, especially across southern Indiana, are expected to crest in a major flood stage, which could cause significant flooding compared to where flooding usually occurs. So do keep that in mind if you live in a flood-prone area. And this flood risk will likely extend in the next week after our rain, after we enter our pattern change that is much drier than what we've had this week. Again, it'll just take that long for our water levels to recede back to pre-flood levels, just because we have so much water that needs to move out of our drainage basins.
Michaela says, I use the Weather Channel app and I pay for premium. However, when it comes to severe storms or tornadoes, I always watch the lives because the last few days has not matched what has been on my weather app. And that is exactly why we tell you guys don't use it for severe weather. You're not going to see it, match up entirely. I will say the Weather Underground app usually tells me if there's a severe threat. It'll usually say there's a risk for damaging winds, large hail, isolated tornadoes. It usually says that within the text of the warning or the text of the forecast. But otherwise, yeah, most apps are just plain garbage for severe. BAM Weather and this page are my favorite by far. Yeah, as long as you have ways to receive warnings, live streams, even like Ryan Hall, Max Velocity. People are more local, BAM's local. There's other Indiana local pages. As long as you're getting your information and staying up to date, that's all we care about. And honestly, that's what it's about. So good on you for keeping up with that. Most weather apps are typically a bit off. The Weather Channel is typically okay for alerts and different things, even still definitely not perfect. And apps are good for alerts too. AccuWeather, Weather Channel, WeatherBug,
Yeah.
They can alert you, and that's great. They do. They have their pros and cons. That's all I'm going to say. And again, my pet peeve is the simple words. My weather app says. If you're going to come to us, if we put a forecast out for severe that comes from the SPC, you're going to come to us and say, my app doesn't say it. That's why we say they're just don't use them for severe. I can't say that enough.
Yep.
Can you explain why wind shear is so destructive to trees and damage? Deborah, that is a loaded question because wind shear alone doesn't really cause... I mean, it does and it doesn't. Wind shear is what forms the updraft of a storm, and that's what organizes the storm to become strong and severe. And that's also what produces damaging winds on the surface because we have a really strong stability. It kind of mixes the winds up above our head to the ground. It's a lot of variables go into it.
Yeah, the easier way to explain it is think of it as wind shear as an ingredient for thunderstorms. And it's something that thunderstorms have to tap into to create straight line winds. Now, there's different kinds of wind shear as well. You have directional wind shear and you have speed shear. Speed shear is winds changing at different speed with height. As you go higher up, they may be faster or slower with height. Directional shear is when winds are moving at different directions with height. Both of those are different, but also have an impact on severe weather in their own way. Directional shear is an ingredient needed for tornadoes. Again, we need that wind moving in different directions with height, but also need a combination of speed shear too. We need that change in velocity with height as well. But when you get those updrafts tapping into that speed shear aloft, especially if you get some low level winds that are quite strong in the 5 to 10,000 feet range, we call that a low level jet, an LLJ. Sometimes when you get storms tapping into that, or you get some dry air mixing it aloft, that can become heavy and it can sink to the ground. And you can get some of those stronger winds funneled down to the ground in the form of straight line winds. So that's that in a nutshell. But again, every setup's a little bit different. Every ingredients are a little bit different, and storms tap into that environment a little bit differently and interact a little bit differently too. But again, think of wind shear as an ingredient, and then straight line winds as a result of the thunderstorms tapping into those ingredients and bringing those impacts down to the ground. There's a little bit more to that, but that's the 101 level. 100 level, maybe.
For those of you new around here, we're going to be streaming the plan is we're probably going to miss a few, Caleb, at some point. We're probably going to miss one or two. But the plan here is to be live 24/7, 365 for any and all warnings. So if you guys know there's severe weather coming at you, tune into our pages, whether it's Indiana Storm Chasing Network, Indiana Weather Online. We're going to be, most likely, we're going to be live here tracking it for you down to your road level if need be. So we're going to be that staple for you guys here in Indiana. So feel free to come back. It may not always be about you guys. Like tonight, we're focusing on Southern Indiana. If you're tuning in from Fort Wayne, tonight doesn't really apply to you. There's going to be some of those days, yeah. But for the most part, we're going to cover it. If it's in Indiana, we're here for it.
Yep, but now's a good time to, keep asking some questions, get to know us a little bit. Again, we'll probably hop off here around 1 a.m. Here in the next 10 to 15 minutes, depending on how the storm trends. But right now, no severe weather in the state of Indiana. A couple stronger storms near the Jasper area, producing some gusty winds. But again, all other storms are subsevere, with the biggest risk being heavy rain, lightning, and flooding being of greatest concerns. And actually, Ryan, I would have to say, as of this time, the flooding risk surpasses the severe risk in Indiana tonight.
I would agree 100%. And that is because all this rain coming up is it's going to be going on all night and on into the morning tomorrow too. But as we've been talking about the past hour or so or more, these storms are they're just not doing anything. There's no confirmed wind gusts. There's no damage reports. There's no power outages coming in. We've only had one warning when the storms first came over here by Evansville. There's just not much going on with the severe side of things tonight, which is great news. We need a break from it. But the unfortunate news is now we have to deal with a lot of flooding, which can be just as damaging, honestly, sometimes as severe weather, if not worse. You can ruin your homes, your basements. It can, in fact, Caleb, if you think about it, the odds that your house get impacted by a tornado are usually quite low. Like there's not a high chance of that happening, even in these bigger setups. The odds that tornado hits you are quite low. But flooding is so widespread. It only takes, flash flooding in your basement to ruin several of your items. So the flooding risk tonight, and kind of like damage to personal property within your home, that threat is actually quite significant across southern Indiana. If you are in an area with prone to sewer backups and stuff like that floods your basement, it's not going to be a good night for you. And it probably hasn't been a good day or good week for you, honestly, with all the rain coming in here. So the flood risk is definitely there tonight and definitely the highest concern over the severe threat. I don't think we're going to see another severe warning in the state tonight, honestly, which is going to be good news. I'll probably jinx it and probably have one, at 4 a.m. somewhere. But otherwise, I don't really think much is happening. I did, didn't I? But I don't think anything's going to happen.
No, I'd have to agree with him. Joking aside, when we talk about in severe weather ingredients, you hear us mention SLIM a lot. That's a term or an acronym that you'll likely get familiarized with, especially go throughout the spring and summertime here in Indiana. SLIM is an acronym for shear, lift, instability, and moisture. Just like what's on Ryan's shirt. He actually has the SLIM shirt that he's wearing right now. That is the ingredients list. Think of it like a cookbook. That is the cookbook for severe weather. You need to have all of those ingredients in place, or at least most of them, for severe weather to occur anywhere in the United States, not just limited to Indiana. Tonight, we can check the box on wind shear. We have wind shear. We have moisture. We have plenty of that. We have flash flood warnings in effect for about a third of Indiana right now. We have a lot of lift. We have a lift. We have a lot of we have a surface boundary. That is our trigger for these thunderstorms. That is allowing these thunderstorms to form. But what we don't have in the slim factor is instability. We were forecast to have all of those components to come together to some degree earlier today through all of our guidance models. There were a couple that were not showing instability to be as great across Indiana. So we knew that was a potential fail mode and a little bit of uncertainty there, whether we were going to see instability, but we didn't really know how much we were going to see. We were forecasting just enough to be there for severe weather, as was the Storm Prediction Center. They upgraded Indiana to an enhanced risk today for severe weather across southern Indiana, just because the confidence was there that we were going to see that instability access reach in to Indiana. But fortunately, it did not. It stalled across central Kentucky, and it didn't quite make it this far north, which was good. It was good to see. So that's what we wanted to see. So again, instability, you can put an X through that. Shear, lift, and moisture all have check marks, but again, instability has a red X. And because that red X is on the instability, we have rain. So it's a great weather for ducks, bad for severe weather. We just don't have all the ingredients for severe weather. So, yeah, no complaints. Says CG. Yeah, not surprised. I don't think very many people are complaining. Again, we've been just so active over the last few weeks here. Definitely needed a break here. But again, flooding. Can't let your guard down on flooding. That is still a huge concern and widespread concern across Indiana. Flooding impacts more people annually in the United States than oftentimes severe weather in terms of damaging winds and hail and tornadoes, because it covers such a larger area. You have more land volume impacted, more acres impacted by flooding than you do. So, again, take it, not something to be taken lightly. Again, it only takes 6 inches of moving water to sweep an adult human off their feet and can be carried away, and 12 to 18 inches to move most vehicles off the road and float them away. It doesn't take that much to really cause damage, and especially when that water is moving. You're talking soil erosion, a lot of alluvial soils getting moved and picked up by that water as well. So if you're in an alluvial plain like a river plain, river bottom, watch for that soil erosion there being taking place. That can undermine roadways, soil erosion on shoulders, and can have a few washouts as well. So heed all warning and road closures by your local EMA county officials for high water. Again, turn around, don't drown. Don't become a statistic. Madison asks, are we okay to sleep? And Ryan, honestly, yeah, go to bed. I really don't see much in the way of widespread severe weather occurring tonight at all. Maybe a few gusty winds here. But as this storm is approaching Louisville's radar, Ryan, I don't see winds much greater than 35.
Nope.
I really don't.
I'll add to that. If you live in a low-lying area prone to flooding, I do think you need to be on alert tonight. But as far as the severe weather threat goes, go to bed. That applies the entire state of Indiana. There's just, I can't rule out 1 or 2 warnings, but at this point, I think the odds are much unlikely. I'm not sure how to word this. I'm too tired. The odds that we're going to get a warning tonight are very, very slim. Very, very low.
And I do need to add something here in the comments. CG says 6 inches to carry a human away. That's crazy. 6 inches of moving water. 6 inches of a puddle, like wading, like in a pond. You're okay there. But it's when the water has moving. When the water is moving, it can swipe you under your feet and you can fall down. And it's that tripping and falling that becomes a real hazard during a flash flood. So that is where that risk is maximized, when the water is moving. But again, even if you're in a car, if you drive into an area or a roadway that is underwater, you have a risk for hydroplaning too. That is a big risk on the highways here tonight. Again, how efficient is your tire's ability to move that water between the tire and the roadway to give you that point of contact with the roadway or road surface that you're on? If your tires have a lesser tread on them, they're worn out, or they're just highly used tires, or you don't have the correct tires on your car, so you have winter tread but you don't have all-weather tires, they may struggle a little bit tonight, as the ability of that tire and the functionality of that tire is not maximized or designed for heavy rain. So again, flooding has multiple impacts across various areas as well, from hydroplaning, hydrologic outlooks such as river flooding. And again, many area rivers are forecasted to crest in a moderate to major flood stage, especially across central and southern Indiana. Some areas across the state will have seen by Sunday, over a 7-day period, 8 inches of rain, with some areas higher than that, approaching double digits of rain. Sometimes, that's impressive for snow, let alone rain. So again, a very wet pattern that we have been stuck in across Indiana. But luckily, after tonight's rain and tomorrow's rain, that should be it for a little bit in terms of the heavy rainfall. So that'll give us some time to dry out, and boy, do we need to dry out.
Well, Caleb,
it is 1 a.m. here. Special weather statement has been canceled. And looking at our outflow boundary on the leading edge, again, the outflow boundary is cutting the tap on any instability that was there, which there wasn't much. There wasn't practically any at all on the low levels of the atmosphere here tonight. Ryan and I are probably going to hop off here. We're going to watch radar here behind the scenes for a little bit to make sure nothing does get an attitude again. But right now, the chances of a storm having an attitude for the rest of the night are very low. We don't have that instability. Looking at winds here, a few gusty showers are possible, but the biggest risk being heavy rain, and even your hail risk is very low right now. Not what it was, not what it was forecasted to be. Your tornado risk near zero here tonight. I don't think there's any tornado risk in Indiana for the remainder of the night. The biggest risk being gusty winds, small hail, but even those risks are very low, less than 5%. In these storms here becoming severe. So again, very low risk. Highest risk of concern is the flooding risk tonight. Can't stress that enough. If you're out on the roads tonight, watch out for ponding, excessive runoff, and flash flooding here. Again, a large area of central and southern Indiana are under some sort of flood alert, whether that would be a flash flood warning, flood advisory, or a flood watch. Over 2/3 of Indiana are under a flood watch right now, generally along and south of US 24. So again, flooding is a huge concern here tonight across Indiana. Ryan?
I got a comment here from Heather. I'm watching another place, and they're talking about a tornado mesoscale. How does that not result in a watch? I assume you mean a mesoscale discussion, maybe?
There was one earlier.
Yeah, there was one earlier that talked about a tornado watch being issued. There was a watch issued, but the problem is we don't have the ingredients anymore for severe weather. It's south of the state. So, whoever you're watching there, if they're talking about tornadoes still, it's on the downtrend.
And something else to note too: our neighbors to the south in Kentucky, where we have instability, that whole line is unwarned.
Yeah, I was about
There's
to say
no
that
severe
too.
thunderstorm warning on it either. And there's actually what's called an outflow boundary, like what we have here in Indiana, well ahead of that main line. And what that's going to do is that's going to cut off the ingredients ahead of your updrafts. So your updrafts are no longer sucking in warm, moist air. They're now sucking in their own rain-cooled air that has stabilized the atmosphere. So that's essentially going to choke off these storms, and they'll weaken significantly as they move. Could have some gusty winds along them near term, but long term, they're choking themselves off. Basically, a self-destruct button is a good way to look at it, is what this is occurring here. And lost a lot of lightning too. It's not as pronounced in a lot of these cores.
I think you're gonna hop out of here, Caleb.
Yeah, I agree. So yeah, go to bed. We'll continue to watch radar here behind the scenes, but again, the severe threat is very, very low from here on out, which is great news. We were expected to go all night, weren't we, Ryan? Till about 4 or 5 in the morning. But right now, the ingredients are not coming together like they were forecasted. The severe risk is quite low across Indiana at this point in time. That is good news. We'll continue to watch radar here behind the scenes to make sure no storm does indeed get an attitude worth watching. But for right now, go to bed, sleep in, have a good night, and we'll see you next time. And again, if a warning does get reissued, we'll jump back on. We'll cover it from beginning to end. But right now, I think the chances of that are quite low in nature.
I would agree with that. And with that being said, thank you guys for interacting, hitting the like, sharing, supporting us, watching. We'll be here all year and into the future covering this for you guys and forecasting the weather. So keep it tuned in here to ISCN and IWO. With that being said, I'm going to pop Caleb off the screen here, as well as myself, and we are going to roll the outro. You guys have a great night. Stay safe. And as Caleb said, if anything else happens, you'll have us back here live covering it. Enjoy your night, guys.